When she felt that Si Han was no longer moving, Yi Wanwan blinked, then blinked again. Did he fall asleep? Wow, it actually worked. She remembered the first time Si Han was nearly woken up by the ringtone on Su Yi's phone. At that time, she did the exact same thing to coax him back to sleep. This time around, she had given it a try in a moment of desperation, and it actually worked. Thank goodness, thank goodness. That almost scared me to death. It was becoming more and more peculiar. Si Han had a serious case of insomnia in her previous life. It was so serious that it was beyond cure. How come he's able to fall asleep so easily in this life? Previously, she thought it was simply a coincidence, but she had been observing him for almost a month. It couldn't be a mistake. Was it because something changed when she was reborn? Just like the butterfly effect. A little change is enough to bring about many unforeseeable larger changes. No matter what the reason was, Yi Wanwan planned to stay put in this position as she didn't dare to wake him up again. Probably due to Si Han's words just now. You could do all those questions even with your eyes closed. Her anxious heart seemed to have calmed down. Exactly, what's there to be nervous about? She was able to memorize the liberal arts notes just by reading them once. As for math, she had improved rapidly under the guidance of Si Han. Yi Wanwan had completed some mock exam papers at home and never scored lower than 140 points. With that thought, Yi Wanwan started feeling sleepy and finally fell asleep. The next morning, Yi Wanwan woke up invigorated. She finally paid off her tuition fees. She sat up immediately, lifted up the sheet stealthily and prepared to get up. But she only got halfway up before a hand snaked around her waist and pushed her back down onto the pillow. Yi Wanwan turned and looked at the man next to her and said weakly, it's already been 8 hours. The morning rays from the sun peeped through the gaps in the curtains and bounced off the flawless face of Si Han. His sleepy eyes appeared misty as if luring one deep into the woods. Yi Wanwan wasn't sure whether it was her illusion, but she felt like Si Han had become better looking lately. His skin was akin to top-grade porcelain without a single pore. It was even better than hers. Often, she'd forget about her fear and feel tempted to touch his face while he was asleep. Could it be from all the sleep he's getting? Seems like beauty sleep has a scientific basis. It's been 7 hours 59 minutes 31 seconds. The moment he said that, he continued his unfinished business from the night before. Yi Wanwan, who was getting her collarbone bitten, was dumbfounded. What dedication! He still remembers even after a complete night of sleep? There are only 29 seconds left. What can you do? Yi Wanwan raised her arm discreetly. This time, he didn't wait for Yi Wanwan to do the same old trick with her arm, and immediately forced it down on the pillow. He narrowed his icy cold yet terrifying eyes, lowered his head and kissed her ferociously, bringing about a taste of his punishment. Just as Yi Wanwan was scared out of her wits, the clock on the wall rang with a duh, and it finally pointed at 6 o'clock sharp. When Yi Wanwan regained her senses from the lack of air and dizziness, she realized Si Han was already out of bed, had removed his pajamas, and was in the process of changing into his clothes. He wore black pants and a white shirt with buttons fastened all the way to the top. The mist beneath his eyes was gone, and right now, he wore an indifferent and alert expression, turning back into a cold immortal banished from heaven, looking like he didn't live on the same level as common mortals. He ordered her with a stiff expression while getting dressed, "Get up and get ready." "Oh," Yi Wanwan replied in a daze, completely astonished. He could actually keep it together after acting so animalistic a second ago. This guy was really quite scary. He had so much self-control that he was able to overcome the physiology and instincts of a man, but why then? Did he always get so mad at incomprehensible issues? She was so afraid of him because he was so hot-tempered and couldn't control his emotions in her past life. For example, right now, Si Han was staring at her while she was daydreaming. His cold countenance had flashes of a violent storm brewing. What are you thinking about? She almost forgot that thinking about something else while being with him was one of Si Han's taboos. Yi Wanwan quickly banished her thoughts. Nothing. I just find your figure really nice. Accidentally admired it for too long. Thankfully, I got some omnipotent survival skills after being reborn. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. After she finished her breakfast and prepared everything, Yu Wanwan got ready to leave the house. Before she left, she seemed to have remembered something and stopped in her tracks. Wait! I suddenly remembered I forgot to do something important. She dashed off like a streak of vapor to the yard, and took a few light steps towards the white figure lying under the tree. Lately, even though Great White had been at the Jean garden quite often, Si-Han hadn't allowed her to keep playing with it. His reason was supported by the idiom, excessive attention to trivialities saps the will, meaning it would affect her studies if she kept obsessing over Great White. Thankfully, she was about to end this ordeal, and would be able to play with Great White once her summer holiday began. Great White seemed to have felt someone was approaching. His ears twitched, but he didn't care to move and continued to lie there lazily, wagging his tail leisurely. 3 steps, 2 steps, 1 step. Great White, give me some of your domineering spirit so that I can have a big kill later. Yu Wanwan obviously didn't mean that she wanted to kill the paper literally, but she meant it figuratively, meaning that she would ace the exams. Yu Wanwan took a deep breath. When the white tiger wasn't paying attention, she quickly stroked its body, turned around and ran away immediately. Si-Han watching nearby. Her important thing was actually to touch Si Lu-Te? The corners of Su Yi's mouth twitched as he saw the vulgar actions of Yi Wanwan trying to leech off the great powers of the tiger. He realized Yi Wanwan really liked Si Lu-Te. The meaning of Si Lu-Te's name was slaughter, and this white tiger was just as its name suggested. This breed was aggressive and great at fighting. Furthermore, it had gone through intensive and gruesome training from a young age, so its temperament was even more ferocious. He wouldn't be surprised if Yi Wanwan was afraid of it. But right now, Yi Wanwan actually said that she wanted some of its domineering spirit, so she could have a big kill? If she didn't really like him, she would never have been able to say something like that. Si-Han accompanied her to the exam hall personally. After they arrived, all they saw was a horde of parents dropping their children off. The parents were all nagging and cheering for their children lovingly, and sending their children into the hall. I'm heading in. Yi Wanwan unfastened the seatbelt and prepared to take off. Wait! Si-Han suddenly called out to her. Yi Wanwan paused and turned to Si-Han. Could it be that he wants to encourage and cheer me on too? Hand in your exam early, don't waste time, Si-Han said. Yi Wanwan was at a loss for words. Other students' parents were nagging at them to not hand in their exams early, and check them through a couple times before submitting them, but he wanted her to do the exact opposite. Truly, there's no harm if there's no comparison. Luckily, she already had Great White's luck with her. Cough got it. Yi Wanwan coughed lightly and pushed the door open. Today was the liberal arts exam, she shouldn't need to spend much time on it. When the door was halfway open, she suddenly heard Si-Han's voice again. Wait. Is there something else? Yi Wanwan turned, confused. What is it this time? Si-Han glanced at her, that stare causing Yi Wanwan to have goosebumps. How did I provoke him again? Just as her heart was beating fiercely, he suddenly bent down and planted an icy kiss on her forehead. Yi Wanwan was stunned when she felt the chill on her forehead and touched her forehead instinctively. Is this an encouragement of love? Since when did Si-Han have any EQ? After Si-Han kissed her, he sat upright and looked at her calmly. Now you're ready for your big kill. Yi Wanwan. So what Si-Han meant was, leeching off his skills was better than leeching off from Si Lu-Te. Is that right? From a certain point of view, this was indeed irrefutable. Thank you. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan got off the car. Before she entered the exam hall, she sent a text to Yi Mu Fan. Good Ji, shall we meet after my exams are over? When she texted her brother about what happened to Shin Mengqi at school before, her brother didn't reply at all, nor did he answer her calls. The text message today was no different, like a rock sinking into the big sea. Yi Wanwan waited a while before finally deciding to switch her phone off and empty all the rubbish thoughts in her head. She took a deep breath and walked into the exam hall. Forget it, I have freedom now. When exams are over, I can go see him anytime. In the next 2 days, Yi Wanwan focused all her attention and energy on the exams. On the afternoon of the second day, when the math exam was over, It marked the end of her time in high school. Yi Wanwan walked out of the exam hall, looked at the azure sky above and felt as if she had entered into a new life. All the students cheered and charged towards their parents who had come to pick them up, like little birds just released from a cage. Yi Wanwan looked at the crowd, and her gaze suddenly stopped at a familiar figure. Dad. However, when she went to take a closer look, she realized the figure was gone. It was probably just her illusion from missing him too much. Wanwan. At this moment, Jiang Yanran's voice came from behind her with Chu Feng by her side. The two of them coincidentally had exams in the same school at the exam hall upstairs. Wanwanjia, how did you do? Bet you did well. Chu Feng asked excitedly. It was all right, what about you guys? Yi Wanwan asked. Chu Feng shook his head, slightly embarrassed. I left the last math question blank. It was too twisted. I've never seen a question like that before. Everyone was debating whether it was even covered in our syllabus. Yi Wanwan coughed lightly. Was it really that difficult? Actually, it was covered in the syllabus. The question was merely a few chapters merged together to form a big question. Compared to the challenging as hell questions Si Han gave her, this was nothing. At first, she just wanted to get an average grade. As long as her math didn't pull down the other grades, it shouldn't be a problem for her to enter Imperial Media with her liberal arts grade. But her tutor was too dedicated to his job. He went through every single question with her, from simple to average to challenging ones. Noticing that Jiang Yanran didn't look too good, Yi Wanwan asked with concern. What's wrong, Yanran? Did the exam not go well for you? Jiang Yanran stared at the screen on her phone and shook her head, looking listless. No. The moment she replied, tears started flowing. Yi Wanwan was taken aback. Why were you crying? What happened? Jiang Yanran jumped into her arms and sobbed. How could this be? I don't believe it. How could my husband do something like that? My husband's definitely not a pervert. Yi Wanwan was totally confused. Huh? Your husband? Chu Feng? What did he do? Chu Feng felt so aggrieved that his face was nearly melted and contorted by the sun. Wanwanjia, Yanran wasn't referring to me, she's talking about her idol, Han Xianyu. Oh. So that's what happened. Yi Wanwan was surprised when she heard these three words, Han Xianyu. Something happened to Han Xianyu already? So fast. In her memory, this was supposed to happen within these few days, so she'd been paying extra attention to the news. Who knew that superfan, Jiang Yanran, would hear about the news before her? Yi Wanwan turned on her phone and headed to some popular websites. She saw that a few hours ago, while they were writing their exams, posted on every website was a piece of explosive news. Asia's most popular prince is actually a PE. File. Han Xianyu was currently Worldwide Entertainment's most popular, most profitable male actor, earning the title of Asia's most popular prince from teenage girls. Due to his dashing looks and cool personality, he stole the hearts of many the moment he made his debut. Everything went very smoothly for him, and he became a big hit. He became even more popular than the hottest actor from Emperor Sky, Ling Xiaojia. The two of them were roughly the same age, so their positions were very close and they were fierce competitors. Not long ago, Han Xianyu had taken on a big production that had millions invested in it. With the Hollywood special effects team and appearance of all the megastars, it would definitely be a big hit once it screened, allowing him to reach another pinnacle of his career. Who knew that something like this would happen to him at this pivotal moment? If Han Xianyu's career was over, all the movies in his hands would go to Ling Xiaojia for sure. Including any major financial backing he had, they would take the first chance to split the money and leave. Jiang Yanran cried out. The rival company must be responsible. They're trying to defame Xianxian. Chu Feng muttered softly. But there are testimonies from the little girl and her parents. Jiang Yanran immediately looked up from Yi Wanwan's embrace and glared at him. So what if there are testimonies? Couldn't they be lying? Chu Feng's voice became meeker. But they also found the evidence of sleeping pills in the child's body. Jiang Yanran's eyes were on the verge of spitting fire. That can't prove my husband was the one who fed them to her. Is there any evidence? Did anybody witness it? Chu Feng instantly nodded his head like a rattledrum. Yes, yes, yes. It must be fake. Your husband has been so warm and charitable. He's so friendly even to kids that he would never do something like this. Hearing Jiang Yanran and Chu Feng squabbling, Yu Wanwan laughed out. Actually, what Jiang Yanran said just now wasn't wrong at all. This entire incident was a very nasty trap. In order to demand and extort a huge amount of money, the little girl's parents acted out this entire incident, giving the kid a shot of drugs and even teaching her to lie in order to frame Han Xianyu for indecency and sexual assault. In her previous life, the trap set by the girl's parents wasn't great, and there was no concrete evidence against him. So Han Xianyu was unable to be convicted of the offense. However, with this kind of civil case, if the parents really wanted to keep pursuing the matter, the outcome would be unthinkable. What's worse was it could drag on for many years. Due to public opinion and pressure, the court was also obviously biased, so the company arranged for the star to settle this matter out of court. But a few years later, the little girl probably felt guilty, so she told the truth and finally wiped Han Xianyu's record clean. But his career had already taken a dive because of the scandal. A shining star had fallen just like that. Although Han Xianyu was an actor from the rival company, Yu Wanwan's impression of him wasn't too bad. It was rare to find a popular novice who looked good, and was also great at acting. Even her father praised him. Actually, she considered giving him a warning before everything unfolded, but thought it was unrealistic. After all, she knew about this only because she had already lived out the future. Since other people didn't know about it, if she really warned him, it would sound quite ridiculous. Jiang Yanran panicked. What should we do? So many people believe that girl and her parents. They even said Xianxian held charity balls and invited young kids to attend so he could molest those young girls. How could they make such baseless speculations? It's too much. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yu Wanwan swept through the comments on the website and saw that most people didn't question whether it was the truth or not. They all cursed at him, saying he was a pervert, that the entertainment field was messy, and that Emperor Sky would definitely take this opportunity to trample him. In just a few short hours, the news had already taken over the headlines and hottest topics in various big entertainment websites. Yu Wanwan sighed. Unless the other party admits they were lying to extort a hefty sum of money from him, then Jiang Yanran turned pale. If their intention really was to frame him, why would they admit it? That's right, this is exactly where the problem lay. How do you get the other party to tell the truth? If she waited a few years until the girl told the truth, the flowers would have withered by then, so to speak. Why don't we act more brutal and give them a little scare? Force the truth out of them? Chu Feng suggested. Yu Wanwan shook her head. Right now Han Xianyu is the accused one. How could he use such aggressive tactics? Furthermore, Emperor Sky must be watching closely for Worldwide to fall from their own mistakes. If they found out Han Xianyu resorted to violence and extortion, he'd have no hope of reprieve. Actually, in her past life when this incident occurred, she'd already thought hard about this problem. And she had really found a solution to it. However, she was limited in her abilities as she'd just made her debut, so it was impossible to help him, a complete stranger. Chu Feng thought about it and offered. As the saying goes, heaven blesses the good man. Maybe there will be a turn of events? Jiang Yanran nodded dispiritedly. Hopefully that's the case. Anyway, before there's any concrete evidence, I refuse to follow the crowd blindly. I trust him. Chu Feng agreed. Let's cheer Xianxian on together. Jiang Yanran was touched and hugged Chu Feng. Chu Feng, thank you. Chu Feng's body suddenly became a block of ice. His face was totally flushed, and he seemed to be in a trance as he replied. Why are you thanking me? Your idol is my idol. Yu Wanwan, watching their lovey-doveyness. What goes around comes around. An entrance to a certain superior villa in Imperial City. A large horde of reporters crowded around Han Xianyu and his manager the moment he stepped out of his caregiver's car. Han Xianyu, were Mr. and Mrs. Zhao's words true? Did you perform any indecent acts or sexually assault their 10-year-old daughter? All these years, were those so-called charities, aid for sick children and invitations to visit your manor, simply ways of satisfying your nauseating appetite. Han Xianyu, are you really a pedophile? Do you have any psychological illnesses? Han Xianyu was in a full black outfit. He wore a pair of oversized shades to hide half of his face, and didn't speak a single word throughout. He was protected by his bodyguard and manager as he moved forward. His manager raised his arms to block a few reporters who stuck their microphones in Han Xianyu's face. He raised his voice. Please make way. Please make way, everyone. The wise man knows that he knows nothing while the fool thinks he knows it all. We will give a satisfactory answer to all these questions once the truth is out. At this moment, one of the reporters pulled out a large photograph furiously and shouted in a piercing voice. The wise man knows that he knows nothing while the fool thinks he knows it all? How do you explain all these pictures? Many kids were in your private bedroom and laid in your bed. Can we say that you not only violated and sexually assaulted one child, but many others as well? Actually, the photo the reporter pulled out was no secret. It had been published to the media by the company itself. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A manor under Han Xianyu's name was shaped into a childlike paradise. He often extended invitations to the children he helped before, along with his young fans, generously offering up his place to play. At that time, the company had many photos of Han Xianyu interacting with the kids. Some showed him playing with the children, doing activities and rolling and laughing in the grass. The photo on the bed was just one of many. The bedroom in the photo was, in fact, Han Xianyu's. The bed in his room was in the shape of a pirate ship, so kids really liked it, and often jumped onto the bed with him. Now that the media had zeroed in on that photo alone, it looked like evidence of him sexually assaulting the kids. Han Xianyu took off his shades and stared at the photo. Anger rose on his face. The reporters at the scene noticed his expression and went even crazier, charging at him. Han Xianyu, are you still denying the allegations at this point in time? The little girl already accused you, said you took off her clothes and inappropriately touched her private parts. You even forced her to perform oral sex on you. How could you do something like that to a child? You're worse than a beast. Han Xianyu paused and silently turned to the reporter who had just spoken. Say that again. When the reporters finally saw Han Xianyu reacting to their accusations, excitement flashed in their eyes as they turned on their video cameras. The sharp-tongued reporter replied with a scornful look. Why? Now that you've done it, you don't have the guts to admit it? What outstanding idol, acting like a virtuous young man in the entertainment industry. You just a hypocrite. Disgusting and perverted. Oh right, I heard you had a younger sister who passed away due to an illness when she was 6. Now that I think about it, maybe she was harassed to death by you. The moment the reporter said that, a howl akin to a pig getting slaughtered resounded. Han Xianyu delivered a punch to his face. Everyone started shouting at the scene. It was total chaos. He punched someone. Han Xianyu punched someone. He actually punched a reporter. The reporter pushed his buttons too far and angered him. He's too much. Stop. Xianyu, are you insane? Despair and astonishment filled his manager's face. But Han Xianyu had already lost all sense of rationality. The manager and bodyguard couldn't hold him back, and could only watch as he pummeled the reporter on the ground, punching him continuously. This entire scene was recorded by all the reporters present. In the end, all the security guards were called in, and finally managed to disperse the chaotic crowd. The reporter rubbed his severely bruised and swollen face as he glared at Han Xianyu fiercely. Han Xianyu, just you wait. Justice will prevail. I'll definitely be the one to reveal your true colors. After the chaos, he finally returned home. Han Xianyu dropped onto the sofa with menacing anger from the fight still lingering in his eyes, while his manager, Fei Yang, was bogged down with endless calls. At this point, photos and videos of the fight scene had already been uploaded onto the web, spreading the news like wildfire. All the netizens were on the reporter's side, and were fired up by his words, "Justice will prevail." The unfavorable public opinion of the star quickly increased. Fei Yang was scolded terribly by the higher-ups in the company. He hung his head with a defeated look and said to Han Xianyu, Xianyu, you're too rash. I already warned you that you were to remain calm no matter what. Those reporters want juicy news and would provoke you with their words, praying for you to lose control and do something. You're so kind you brought them a knife personally. Fei Yong wanted to continue, but when he noticed Han Xianyu sitting on the sofa without a sound, looking at his little sister's photo on his phone, he finally sighed and stopped. What the reporter said was unacceptable, but netizens wouldn't consider Han Xianyu's point of view and think hard about it. They'd probably even associate what the reporter said with something dirty and nasty. Fei Yong thought long and hard about how to redeem Han Xianyu's image when all of a sudden, Han Xianyu's phone rang. It was a familiar number. It was the father of the little girl. Fei Yong was stunned. He was afraid Han Xianyu would lose control and say something he shouldn't, so he quickly said, "Pass me the phone, I'll speak to him." Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Have you received a summons from the court? The piercingly cold voice of the little girl's father came through the receiver. I'm Han Xianyu's manager, Fei Yong. Zhao Deyong, just let us know how much money you want. We'll give it to you as long as you tell the truth to the media. Fei Yong pressed the recording button and tried to pry the truth out of him to be used as evidence. When the man over the phone heard what he said, he was silent for a moment. Then he replied with an extreme rage in his voice, "Bullshit. What do you mean by that? Han Xianyu is a pedophile, he's a pervert. Even if he has money, he can't get away with being morally corrupt, running wild and turning facts upside down." Who exactly is the one turning facts upside down? Fei Yong finally understood how Han Xianyu felt when he lost control. He took a deep breath and replied, "Zhao Deyong, when your daughter was very ill, her medical bills were all paid for by Han Xianyu. How could you accuse him like that? How can you live with yourself? So just because Han Xianyu helped my daughter with her medical bills, I have to let him violate her? You." Fei Yong never expected the man to be this shameless. Not only was Fei Yong unable to pry out the truth from Zhao Deyong was acting so indignant and angry to the death. In order to satisfy his selfish desires, Han Xianyu took advantage of my little daughter. He's a bastard. At this moment, Han Xianyu grabbed the phone away from Fei Yong and said, enunciating each word clearly, "Let me tell you, there's no use even if you sue me. I won't give you a single cent." The man over the phone sneered, "Sure, Han Xianyu. Since you're not feeling remorseful for your actions at all, we'll see what happens." After Yi Wanwan left Chu Feng and Jiang Yan ran, she checked her message inbox. In her inbox, the last message was still the one she sent the day before asking her older brother out. He hadn't replied. The corners of Yi Wanwan's lips curled upwards as a spark ignited in her eyes. "You really want to push me to the extreme, don't you?" Yi Wanwan sent another text over leisurely. "Call me within 10 minutes. Otherwise, the little video clips of you sleeping around with hot girls and famous models will be sent to Shen Mengqi's email inbox." After she sent the text, Yi Wanwan stood at the same spot and counted in her heart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The moment she reached 9, her phone rang and on the screen were the words, "The unrivaled and most handsome guy in the world." She jumped with shock. Yi Wanwan picked up the phone slowly. "Hello?" "Yi Wanwan. Don't you dare." The exasperated voice of Yi Mufan came through the receiver. Yi Wanwan giggled. "Oh, this busy man finally has the time to call back? Why wouldn't I dare? Anyway, a person like me is capable of anything, right?" Yi Mufan gritted his teeth. "How could you have those video clips?" "I secretly took them. Nobody said I wasn't allowed?" "Yi Wanwan, you pervert." Yi Mufan shouted, and then suddenly regained his senses. "Stop trying to scare me. How could you possibly have those things? You thought I'd really fall for that? Furthermore, Mengqi knows about my past. She wouldn't do anything even after watching them." Yi Wanwan was about to speak when the sloppy voice of a stranger came through the receiver from Yi Mufan's side. I, place your bets, place your bets. Yi Mufan, are you still playing or not? If you are, then hurry and place your bet now. I don't have all day." "Got it, stop rushing me. I'll be there soon." Yi Mufan replied, annoyed. Yi Wanwan heard the noise on Yi Mufan's side and her face changed. "Yi Mufan, you're gambling again? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yimu fan's voice froze. Mind your own business. It's my life. Fire arose in Yi Wanwan's eyes. Does Shin Mengqi know you're useless and spend your time idling all day long? As he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and was also the only grandson in the family, Yimu fan was spoiled to the point where he became self-satisfied, unwilling to work hard to improve himself. He was also hedonistic. He took pleasure in hanging out with a gang of scoundrels all the time. In addition to fighting, racing, gambling, fooling around with women and loafing through life. But there was no denying he was very good-looking and had a smooth way of talking to people. He was also normally very kind to this little sister of his no matter where he went. He never forgot to prepare a special present for her. Also, all she had to do was give him a call for help, and he'd drop everything to help her no matter what he was doing. In her previous life, she hated him for having no ambition when her family fell apart. He gave up on himself and refused to work to better his circumstances. Yimu fan's relationship with her also soured further when she discarded her dignity and allowed Gu Yuze to take advantage of her. Whenever they saw each other, they usually ended up in a big fight, incapable of communicating with each other. By the end, they stopped talking altogether. As expected, Yimu fan's voice turned even colder after Yi Wanwan's words. Don't keep bringing Shin Mengqi up to threaten me. Anyway, to all of you, I'm just a useless piece of garbage. Mengqi's not like you. She never criticized me for anything. Never looked down on me. That's because she doesn't even care about you. You dumbass. Yi Wanwan shouted, unable to hold herself back anymore. Yimu fan was instantly agitated by Yi Wanwan's words and sneered. Tizke, you think I'm dumb? You think I'm useless, just idling all day long? Yi Wanwan, what right do you have to criticize me? Do you know how our family ended up in this state? Do you know what kind of scum Gu Yuze is? The Gu Yuze you follow around like a shameless dog? Which one of us has the heart of a wolf and lungs of a dog? Yi Wanwan trembled in fury at Yimu fan's words. She dug her nails into her palms. It's me. It's me who's dumb. It's me who's useless. It's me who idles all day long. I'm the one who ruined the Yi family. I'm the cruel one who cut ties with mom and dad. But I was also wronged and framed. I didn't do drugs at all. I didn't fall in with the wrong crowd. Do you believe me? I was sent to that place, terrified. I was cut off from all communication to the outside world. I couldn't contact dad, mom or you at all, and when I finally escaped, my life was in shambles. My friends left me, my fiancé broke up with me, my family and relatives, even grandpa and grandma, all scolded dad. And remember how you treated me? You just criticized and cursed at me nonstop, not to mention that slap. But Gigi, when I was locked up, where were you? When I was injected with drugs by Yi, where were you? I've been all alone in the world these 2 years. Have you ever once stopped to think about what I've been through? Have you cared one bit? You. What right do you have to criticize me then? As she said the last word, Yi Wanwan's voice began to shatter. The phone remained silent for a very long time before his frantic voice came through. You knew. Yi Wanwan suppressed her shaking voice and continued. I was too gullible, so I fell into their trap. I was too arrogant, so I kept breaking mom and dad's hearts. I was too weak, so that they had to sacrifice so much in order to protect me. I caused them to lose their reputation and fall from grace in order to protect me. I caused them to have to live under someone else's roof and suffer all kinds of humiliation and pain, while I, the main culprit, kept living, blissfully unaware. But I didn't know. I didn't know anything at all. Nobody told me. I wouldn't have guessed that my ignorance and stupidity could harm the people closest to me so badly. Yimu fan sounded shocked. How did you find out? Did mom and dad tell you? No, impossible, they'd never tell you. Doesn't matter how I found out. Yimu fan, if you want to continue wasting your life, then go on. If you want to continue believing in an outsider, it's up to you. I'll be the one taking care of and protecting mom and dad next time. I'll take revenge for the Yi family. Yi Wanwan hung up without waiting for Yimu fan's response. After the phone call, Yi Wanwan returned to Jean Garden, preoccupied with her thoughts. When she made this phone call, she was already a little on edge. But now with the guilt and self-reproach combined from her two lives, in addition to the nasty criticism from her brother, who never spoke so harshly to her in the past, she couldn't keep it together anymore. Yi Wanwan took a deep breath and tried her best to control her emotions. At this moment, her phone rang with a ding, and a piece of entertainment news popped up. Yi Wanwan opened the article and saw that a media company had published another explosive piece of news. Han Xian, you had attacked a reporter in a moment of rage. All the netizens scolded him, with the situation becoming more and more unfavorable towards Han Xianyu. For these sudden scandals, the celebrity had to prove his innocence within a certain time frame. If the scandal was dragged out for a long time, the public would be left with a bad impression even if the star was eventually proven innocent. I have to quickly talk with Han Xianyu's people and turn the situation around before it's too late. However, before I can settle things, I need a suitable identity. With that thought, Yi Wanwan was at a loss. Actually, she had stumbled into this problem before because the conditions Si Yihan laid out in exchange for her freedom included a very strict rule. No attracting the opposite sex. How could she ever fulfill that? Thankfully, I didn't decide to be a celebrity. Otherwise, this clause alone would prevent me from doing anything. But even working behind the scenes, this face of mine will never be completely safe. She thought about whether she wanted to use her exotic, heavy makeup look, but it was impractical. The entertainment field wasn't the same as school, it was much crueler and more realistic. Furthermore, the entertainment field was a place where looks were of utmost importance. With that terrifying face, she'd scare people off even before she could start talking about working together. Yi Wanwan used all her brain juices to think of a solution when a pair of familiar footsteps and the clear voice of a man came from behind her. You finished your exams? Yi Wanwan immediately turned her head and saw a certain someone dressed in a completely black suit, looking pleasing to the eye as usual. You're back. So early? I thought you said that you had a meeting today? It's over. Oh, Si Yihan stared at her for a few seconds and then suddenly asked, You didn't do well? Yi Wanwan blinked her eyes in confusion. Ah? Nope, I think I did quite well this time. Everyone complained about how hard the last math question was, but I was able to do it. Anyway, what made you suddenly ask if I didn't do well? Si Yihan replied, You're unhappy. Yi Wanwan was slightly speechless. I went to wash my face when I arrived home, and even took a very long time to readjust my feelings, yet he could still tell I'm unhappy. Yi Wanwan coughed lightly. It's not that I'm unhappy, I just have a problem I can't solve. What problem? Si Yihan loosened the tie on his collar and sat down on the sofa. Yi Wanwan thought about the best way to phrase her sentence before shifting closer to him. It's like this, baby, there's a rule in the agreement you set previously, the one that states I'm not allowed to attract the opposite sex. I think this rule is too unreasonable. Si Yihan glanced at her. Unreasonable? Yi Wanwan instantly nodded her head. That's right, that's right. Think about it, how beautiful is your girlfriend, don't you know? With my face, how could I not attract any suitors? Even if I don't want to be a celebrity in the future, I might not even be 100% safe just working behind the scenes. So could you please remove this rule? After all, any attraction to me would be due to my face. It's not me who wants to attract the men. Si Yihan cast a sidelong glance at her when he heard her shameless proclamation. How beautiful is your girlfriend, and replied, I never said it was reasonable. Upon hearing Si Yihan's, must the rules set by the king be reasonable tone, Yi Wanwan was left without any words to rebut him. Fine, fine, fine. Your servant will think of a way, all right? Yi Wanwan scratched her head in frustration. I could cover this face with thick makeup, but it's a disadvantage to be that ugly in this industry. So what's the best way to completely prevent the opposite sex from being attracted to me? I've thought about it over and over again, and could only come up with one solution. Si Yihan looked at her, interested to know the answer. Thus, Yi Wanwan paused and she looked at Si Yihan with sparkling eyes. The solution is to dress as a man. I won't attract any suitors then. I'm a total genius. With regards to Yi Wanwan's mind-blowing idea, Si Yihan's expression was. Yu Wanwan skipped over and tried her best to sell the idea to him. Don't you think this would be the safest way? Then next time, baby, you wouldn't have to worry about me attracting other men. The more Yu Wanwan thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. This face of hers was pretty troublesome, and it was already pretty inconvenient for a girl like her to be in the entertainment industry. If she pretended to be a man, it'd be easier for her to work in the field. The best thing was that her looks wouldn't go to waste since pretty boys were a trend now. Si Yihan supported his head on one hand, and his eyes shifted a little. Yu Wanwan couldn't tell whether he agreed with her idea or not. What this little wretch said makes some sense, but I somehow feel like there's something wrong somewhere. Yu Wanwan muttered softly. Wanwan's already trying her very, very, very best to follow your rules. As she spoke, Sui walked over from the kitchen to inform them that dinner was ready. When Yu Wanwan saw Sui, she immediately tried to make him an ally. She hurriedly waved him over. Housekeeper Sue, come over. I have something I need your opinion on. Me. Sui first glanced at his master before making his way over suspiciously. Yu Wanwan immediately said, It's the summer holidays now and I'll be going to university very soon. I already went through most of the syllabus for university, and I'll definitely focus all my energy on my work in future. But this face of mine is not so good for keeping a harmonious family. In order to prevent some unnecessary trouble, I came up with the idea of dressing up as a man. What do you think? Isn't it great? While speaking, Yu Wanwan gave Sui a secret nod, trying to tell him that they were on the same team. Dress as a man? Sui genuinely thought there was a big hole in Yu Wanwan's brain. But if Yu Wanwan pretends to be a man, there wouldn't be any other men harassing her anymore, right? The skies will be clear as long as Master doesn't get jealous. Sui thought about it earnestly, and found it a surprisingly sound idea, so he spoke up. It's indeed more convenient to be a man and safer for you too. Yu Wanwan was surprised. Baby look, housekeeper Sue also agreed. When Yu Wanwan finished speaking, she discreetly opened a web page on her phone for him to see. Baby, I have to quickly start working and earn money. Look, I've already chosen the props I want to use in future. The link was to purchase a pair of studded diamonds and extremely shiny, sexy handcuffs. Si Yihan. Okay. Finally, things were settled. Yu Wanwan let out a yelp and kissed Si Yihan. Many years later, people often asked this wise and strategic man, the most outstanding master in the history of the Si family, whether he made any bad decisions in life. Each time someone asked him this question, Si Yihan thought back to this day. And a certain male housekeeper also expressed sorrow at the way his life had been drastically affected. After she overcame this big obstacle, Yu Wanwan then moved on to the next step of her plan. She disguised herself as a reporter and added the little girl's father, Zhao Deyong, on his personal WeChat and QQ. She read through every single detail in his profile, his circle of friends, his space, and all the daily messages he sent to various social accounts. Then, by using her memory, she found everything she needed. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yu Wanwan went through the messages Zhao Deyong published on his social media the entire night. She fell asleep unknowingly, and was only woken up by a phone call from Jiang Yanran the next morning. Half an hour after she hung up, Yu Wanwan reached the entrance of the court. Many fashionable teenagers crowded together, and there were a few people who held signs. Written on the signs were along the lines of, Han Xianyu is framed, Han Xianyu is innocent, burn the rumors. At the same time, there were also many reporters waiting outside the court. In her past life, the incident about Han Xianyu sexually abusing a child reached everybody, and had a great impact on society. Yu Wanwan hadn't forgotten the sequence of events. The girl's father should be taking Han Xianyu to court today. Wanwanjie, you're here too. Chu Feng, who was dressed casually, squeezed through the crowd and walked to Yu Wanwan. Yeah, Yu Wanwan nodded. Yanran called me just now. Jiang Yanran was Han Xianyu's diehard fan. She got the news firsthand that the girl's father was taking Han Xianyu to court, and she immediately called Chu Feng and Yu Wanwan over. Wanwan, you're here? When Jiang Yanran saw Yu Wanwan, She nearly teared up from feeling so aggrieved. Even people with little knowledge of the law know that those so-called pieces of evidence are not substantial. Why is everyone saying that Xianxian's guilty so confidently? Since the matter's been brought to court, shouldn't they back their words with evidence? That couple would resort to every conceivable means of getting money. What's more infuriating are those reporters fanning the flames. Chu Feng said, agitated. Today Mr. and Mrs. Zhao are bringing the current most popular celebrity, Han Xianyu, to court. According to the report, the court has officially accepted this case. We will continue to monitor this report closely. A formally dressed female reporter spoke in front of the camera. Quite a number of people at the court entrance joined in on the buzz. Each person had their own opinion about the case. All these celebrities now are really dirty. He won't even let a little kid off. Exactly. That Han Xianyu changed his villa into a theme park and said he was doing charity work the whole time, but it was all to do something so perverted. He's worse than a beast. Mr. and Mrs. Zhao's little girl is really pitiful. Why was she targeted by that bastard? He left such a big shadow over that little girl. I'm sure this little girl isn't the only one who was abused. If Mr. and Mrs. Zhao didn't bring this matter up, I'm not sure how many others would suffer in silence. Damn. Are all these people idiots? Hearing the crowd call Han Xianyu a bastard, Chu Feng was fuming and looked like he was about to charge up to argue with them, but was stopped by Yuan Wan. What are you doing? Wan Wanjia, they don't even have any evidence. They're saying it's raining when they only heard the howling of the wind. The court hasn't given their verdict, yet these people are convicting my idol of the crime already. How could they? Chu Feng gritted his teeth. Yuan Wan. Are you sure that Han Xianyu's your idol? This guy's fallen too deep. Aren't you tarnishing Han Xianyu's name if you argue with them? Then people would just start saying that Han Xianyu's fans were making a scene. Chu Feng paused, nodded and looked at Yuan Wan in a daze. Wan Wan, you're right. Jiang Yanran nodded. We must never be swayed, no matter what other people say. Han Xianyu's fans weren't bad. They were simply holding their banners up and weren't arguing with anybody. Meanwhile, the reporters at the court entrance tried to influence public opinion, provoking the crowd to convict Han Xianyu of the crime directly. When those gossipy passerbys overheard Jiang Yanran's conversation, they all shot disdainful looks at their group. All these youngsters can't tell right from wrong. The issue has already gotten to this point. Yet they're still unable to distinguish the truth, and keep insisting that the bastard isn't guilty and was framed. They actually support those kinds of bastards who wouldn't even let a child off. Their brains must be damaged. Jiang Yanran's eyes turned red from anger. All these people had no idea at all. They didn't know the significance of an idol. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At this moment, a tall and skinny reporter with a pointy mouth and a chin like a monkey's squeezed through the crowd to get to Jiang Yanran. At the same time, she made the cameraman point the camera at her. She was up to no good. Miss, may I know if you're a fan of Han Xianyu? The lanky reporter asked in an odd tone. Jiang Yanran looked straight into the camera and responded resolutely, yes. The reporter then passed the microphone over. With regards to the incident of Han Xianyu sexually abusing a little girl, what are your thoughts? Jiang Yanran suppressed the anger boiling inside and replied calmly, Mr. Reporter, before I reply to your question, I don't agree with the way you phrased it. The court hasn't come to a verdict yet, so you shouldn't use words like sexually abuse. The reporter sneered. The girl's statement has already been publicized and traces of the sleeping pill have also been found in her body, and were reported very clearly in the medical report. Many insiders, even Han Xianyu's ex-girlfriend, already divulged that Han Xianyu's a pedophile. It's an open secret in the industry. There is also photo evidence of Han Xianyu lying in the same bed with many little girls. Do you still think Han Xianyu is innocent? Jiang Yanran clenched her fists. From the viewpoint of the law, all this evidence can't prove that Han Xianyu did anything at all. The statement was given by the girl alone. There were no witnesses around. Also, we can't be sure who fed the sleeping pill to the little girl. All the news that the so-called insiders provided were also just verbal statements and those photos. All the evidence is laid out in front of you, yet you're still denying the truth. So this is the kind of fans Han Xianyu has. The girl's statement, photo and medical report have been presented, yet you're still trying to distort the truth. Like idol, like fans. The reporter interrupted Jiang Yanran in a fit. Jiang Yanran was also enraged by what he said. What do you mean, like idol, like fans? Han Xianyu has always been charitable and kind ever since his debut. He spreads positivity to his fans. But the truth is, all this was just to cover up his dirty, perverted and despicable self. Once again, the reporter interrupted her. Since the court has already accepted the case, shouldn't we leave the court to give the verdict? Who are you two? With such irrefutable evidence, do we still need to wait for a verdict from the court? Or is it that Han Xianyu was unable to bribe the little girl's parents, and wants to pressure the court instead? Let me tell you, no matter what the court's verdict is, the fact that Han Xianyu sexually assaulted a little girl will never change. If the court is unable to bring justice to the victims, then we reporters have to seek justice for them instead. The reporter yelled. The lanky reporter's words suddenly incited all the other reporters to join in. That's right. We must seek justice for the victims. Don't think you can screw over people just because you're rich and powerful. You think just because you have fans, you'll be able to change public opinion? In your dreams. Remove this public cancerous tumor. Let's get the fans to face the truth. How could a pretty girl like you be so cruel? The entire life of that little child was ruined by that bastard. Yet you're still speaking up for him. Are you even human? I didn't. I was merely speaking the truth. The truth is that Han Xianyu is a despicable and filthy pervert. Jiang Yanran tried to reason things out calmly, but nobody wanted to speak reason. Nobody bothered about the rationality of the evidence, and all of them just attacked her, shoving the camera in her face. Chu Feng was squeezed out of the crowd and became anxious, seeing that the situation was getting out of hand and Jiang Yanran was being attacked from all sides. Awo kicked me. At that moment, the cameraman next to Jiang Yanran suddenly felt a sharp pain on his calf, and his body tilted to one side, knocking the camera of another reporter to the floor. Both of them started fighting. While the crowd was in chaos, Yuanwan quietly sneaked to Jiang Yanran's side, and swiftly placed her jacket over Jiang Yanran's head. Let's go. Don't be silly. You can't reason with these people. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The three of them finally managed to disentangle themselves from the reporters surrounding them. Yanran, are you okay? Are you hurt? It's all my fault. I didn't protect you properly. Chu Feng blamed himself. Jiang Yanran stood rooted to the ground in a daze, not saying a word, having gotten a big blow from what just happened. Yi Wanwan hugged her lightly, then turned to Chu Feng and said, "Take Yanran back. It's better for her not to leave the house for now." The reporters would never let this juicy news go. They'd definitely use this interview with Jiang Yanran to craft an article. As expected, the interview with Jiang Yanran was taken out of context by the reporters and posted all over the internet. Fans of Han Xianyu were labeled as brainless, and whoever spoke up for Han Xianyu was attacked viciously by the righteous people. Following that, Southeast Daily newspaper, where that lanky reporter was from, uncovered even more explosive news. An ex-employee who had worked at Han Xianyu's villa revealed that he often saw Han Xianyu disappearing with little girls for entire afternoons, and the cries of the girls could be heard from his bedroom. This news gave rise to more speculations from the public. All the evidence pointed to the fact that Han Xianyu sexually assaulted the little girl. Just a simple piece of celebrity gossip quickly became the hottest topic in town. In front of an enormous mirror, Yi Wanwan lowered her head and rolled up her sleeves leisurely. The corners of her rosy lips curled upwards, and in the next second, she suddenly raised her head. Her stunning face was warped by a stern and indifferent appearance. The warm beauty of a teenage girl slowly faded away. At this moment, worldwide entertainment was completely surrounded by furious reporters and agitated civilians. There were a few broken windows, the entrance was littered with rotten vegetables and eggs, and there was even the stench of urine. Every single day, around the clock without fail, there were protesters shouting and holding banners up, "Kick Han Xianyu out of the entertainment industry. Worldwide Entertainment is protecting scum. Seek justice for the victim." In the meeting room of Worldwide Entertainment, everyone hung their heads low and didn't speak a word. The atmosphere was so heavy that it was almost frozen. The incident has already escalated up to this point. Groups of people have been at our office cursing us for days. Yet each one of you here is mute now. How do we solve this issue exactly? All of you better give me a solution by today. The chairman of Worldwide Entertainment, Chu Hongguang, threw a pile of newspapers on the meeting table and howled in a violent rage, his plump body trembling with anger. He took a deep breath, shoved down the fury in his heart, and looked at the lawyer sitting opposite. "Let me ask you, how confident are you that we can win this case?" The lawyer's face was slightly pale as he replied stiffly, "At the moment, public opinion is all on the girl's side. As civilians are very worked up over this incident, the court will more or less be affected by pressure from the public. If we're really going ahead with this lawsuit, we would have to change public opinion and find concrete evidence that could turn the case. I'm afraid this will drag on for a very long time." "Very long time? How long?" Chu Hongguang's face sank. If this issue got dragged out, it would be the equivalent of a slow death for Han Xianyu. After all, it was the golden period of Han Xianyu's career right now. With negative publicity, however, his road to stardom was doomed. Which director or brand would hire a celebrity with such a negative image? The lawyer swallowed and gave a safe estimate. Best case scenario, at least 2 to 3 years. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. "2 to 3 years. Chu Hongguang's face darkened. If he had to carry this stain for 2 to 3 years, even if he won in the end, Han Xianyu would be totally worthless by then, and would bring down the company's reputation for a few years. Do we have any other options?" The lawyer paused for a moment. "I suggest settling this out of court, and trying our best to minimize the damage from this incident." When Fei Yong heard that, he was anxious. "How can we do that? Isn't that the same as admitting guilt? Han Xianyu's name would be stained forever." At this moment, a refined gentleman in a gray suit across Fei Yong said casually, "So you want to drag all the celebrities in the company down just for Han Xianyu's sake?" Fei Yang's expression changed. "Zhou Wenbin, what are you trying to say?" Zhou Wenbin shrugged. "Fei Yong, we can't be too righteous. This issue was started by Han Xianyu and implicated everyone in the company. Even our shares are dropping. To date, you don't even have any evidence to prove his innocence. Do you really want everybody in the company to be dragged down with him and await their deaths?" Zhou Wenbin's words garnered the support of many of the other managers. Wenbin's right. There's no reason for all of us to take the blame for Han Xianyu's wrongdoings, right? I also think the best course of action right now is to cut our losses immediately. The discussion got louder with almost everyone agreeable to settling this out of court. There were even some managers who complained, resentful of Han Xianyu for implicating the celebrities they were in charge of. While the rowdy discussions were underway, Fei Yang's face turned uglier and both his hands shook with fury. When Han Xianyu basked in glory, so many of them sucked up to him. Which of the celebrities under the management of these people didn't freeload on Han Xianyu's popularity? But now, everyone's hitting a man when he's down. "Xianyu, say something. All these people are pushing you to your death." Fei Yong couldn't take it any longer, and he turned to Han Xianyu, who hadn't said a word. Han Xianyu sat silently in the meeting room. It seemed like he hadn't heard the discussions and noise around him. His pale face and dark eye circles revealed how worn out he was from this crisis. He glanced coldly at all these people who wanted him to give up, an inexpressible emotion in his eyes. When Zhou Wenbin heard everyone backing him up, a shred of subtle happiness beamed across his face as he turned to Chu Hongguang. "Chairman Chu, this implicates the reputation of the company, so we really hope you make a decision soon." Chu Hongguang listened as everyone argued. He had a terrible headache. Naturally, he couldn't bear to let go of his money tree, Han Xianyu, but judging by the circumstances, it was probably too late to save Han Xianyu at this point. If this dragged on, it would be disastrous for the company and could also defame the other celebrities. Fei Yang saw that Chu Hongguang was slightly wavering and he said anxiously, "Boss Xian, you definitely didn't do those things. That couple is obviously trying to extort money from him. It's all for money. If we just give them some money, then Xianyu will be in the clear." Fei Yang, is maintaining Han Xianyu's innocence still important? Zhou Wenbin sneered and his gaze swept to the pale Han Xianyu. What's important is not whether he did it or not. The public already believes he did it. Fei Yang prepared to argue with Zhou Wenbin. However, Chu Hongguang raised his hand and interrupted the two of them. He spoke gravely, "Wenbin's right, it's not important whether Han Xianyu did it or not. What's important is how we're going to protect the interests of the company." Chu Hongguang's words instantly made Fei Yang's face turn ghastly white. He looked at Han Xianyu in panic. Han Xianyu, who had just been sitting there with his handsome face completely numb, finally pursed his lips when he heard Chu Hongguang say, "It's not important whether Han Xianyu did it or not. TSK, not important. Everybody thinks it's not important." Under the everyone's anticipatory gaze, Chu Hongguang took a deep breath. The corners of his lips moved slightly, and it looked like he was about to speak. Han Xianyu closed his eyes slowly. He didn't need to hear what Chu Hongguang was going to say. He could already see his fate. After careful consideration, regarding Han Xianyu's scandal, I've decided to protect the best interests of the company. We will immediately settle this out of court in accordance to the lawyer's advice and... A loud bang suddenly swallowed the last few words from Chu Hongguang's speech. Every single person in the meeting room turned towards the sound. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The door of the meeting room was pushed open by someone, and a beautiful and dazzling teenager appeared at the entrance unexpectedly. "Sorry to interrupt." The lips of this stunning teenager moved slightly, showing off his manly charms. Everyone in the meeting room was already accustomed to all kinds of beauty, but was still stunned by this teenager's looks. However, someone quickly recovered his composure. When Zhou Wenbin saw that Chairman Chu's decision was abruptly interrupted, he felt annoyed and stared sternly at the face before him. "Who are you? Who allowed you in?" Behind the teenager, Han Xianyu's little assistant said meekly, This gentleman here said that he has a way to solve Han Xianyu's crisis." The corners of Zhou Wenbin's lips trembled and his expression turned uglier. "Fei Yang, is this person under you? Don't you know the rules? Do you know what kind of place this is? How could you simply allow a stranger in? Where's the security? Drag this person out." Chu Hongguang furrowed his brows and also felt upset as he looked at the young man at the door. A number of security guards rushed over quickly and prepared to grab the teenager. However, the teenager's mocking gaze swept across the brawny security guards. The smirk on his face widened as he continued to stand there and said calmly, "If Chairman Chu wants to personally destroy this money tree, then you may get security to escort me out." The little assistant was also worried about this mess. She only realized her recklessness for allowing a stranger in after being scolded. But when she saw the unclouded gaze of the young man, she felt a strange peacefulness. It seemed like Chu Hongguang was hit with a piercing blow right at his weak spot by the words, "money tree." His gloomy face was stunned, and just as the security guards were about to take action, he suddenly said, "Wait." The security guards immediately stopped moving. Zhou Wenbin's face darkened further, and there was a hint of unease in his eyes. Chu Hongguang looked sternly at the teenager. "Our friend here, who exactly are you, and do you really have a solution to Han Xianyu's incident?" "That's right." The teenager spoke calmly and curled his lips, making his face appear even more stunning. Many managers in the meeting room were secretly astonished by the look of this teenager. They couldn't help but wonder where this beautiful boy popped out from. Chu Hongguang frowned slightly. He really couldn't bear to let Han Xianyu go. If he had a choice, he would never chop this money tree off. When he heard the teenager had a solution, even if it was just a shred of hope, he'd definitely grab hold of it. He asked eagerly, "What's your solution?" Zhou Wenbin saw that Chu Hongguang was persuaded and immediately stared at the teenager, a hint of gloominess in his eyes. As long as Han Xianyu was gone, the male celebrity he managed, who was qualified to act in the same roles as Han Xianyu, would be able to ride on Han Xianyu's coattails and become famous immediately. He had waited for this chance for so long and finally had an opportunity to destroy Han Xianyu had appeared. How could he simply let someone else mess this up for him? Boss, we don't even know who this person is. How can we trust him? What if he's a spy from Emperor Sky? The teenager stroked his sleeves when he heard that and smirked. If I'm a spy from Emperor Sky, I would be throwing a party at this moment. I'm afraid I wouldn't have the time to visit your company. The appearance of the unidentified man filled the huge meeting room with a strange atmosphere. Who exactly are you? Even the public relations at Worldwide can't handle this case. So who are you to say that you can change how the public sees Han Xianyu? Bro, please don't speak without using your head here. Right now, Han Xianyu's reputation is secondary. The main issue is that Worldwide Entertainment's reputation is tied with this incident. Some of the top management at Worldwide Entertainment looked at the man, sizing him up. Chairman Chu, don't listen to the flowery speech of this guy. He must be a secret agent sent by Emperor Sky to scout for information. Zhou Wenbin stood up. Upon hearing what Zhou Wenbin said, a chill emerged in Chu Hongguang's eyes. As everyone knew, Emperor Sky Entertainment and Worldwide Entertainment had always been at loggerheads. This incident with Han Xianyu had impacted Worldwide Entertainment so badly that it was plausible for Emperor Sky to send someone to scout for information. Secret agent? The teenager looked at Zhou Wenbin as he smiled mockingly and sneered. With this level of intelligence, it's very hard for me to understand how you actually managed to be included in Worldwide Entertainment's board meeting. Zhou Wenbin was taken aback for a second, then his eyes widened as he shouted, "Bastard, what did you say?" "What did I say?" The teenager shrugged. "Everyone here knows I just called you an idiot." "You?" Zhou Wenbin's face turned slightly sinister. This punk who just came out of nowhere actually barged into our meeting room and called me an idiot in front of all my superiors and managers. Security! Security! Zhou Wenbin suddenly yelled, "Take this garbage out." Hearing the explosive anger from the meeting room, the few security guards on standby quickly surrounded the teenager again. "What are all of you just standing there for? Didn't you hear what I just said?" Zhou Wenbin glared at the guards. The teenager shook his head. He didn't even bother to glance at Zhou Wenbin's commotion and instead directed his gaze at the man in the main seat, Chu Hongguang. It's been said that Worldwide Entertainment's chairman, Chu, has extraordinary courage, but what a pity it was all hearsay. It turned out that in the board meetings, it's actually a nobody manager who calls the shots. It's been quite the eye-opener today. An apathetic smile appeared on the teenager's flawless face. Unknown? Zhou Wenbin was nearly driven to his death by anger. Chu Hongguang furrowed his brows. He shot Zhou Wenbin a look before he turned to the security guards and ordered, "All of you get lost." After the security guards left, Zhou Wenbin gritted his teeth. "Chairman Chu, this guy he..." But this time, Chu Hongguang waved him off and interrupted him before he could finish. Zhou Wenbin noticed that Chu Hongguang didn't look too happy, so he had no choice but to keep his anger in. He'd been provoked by this little punk just now, which messed with his mind. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone beyond his authority and called for security. "Chairman Chu, with Worldwide Entertainment's current predicament, do you think Emperor Sky needs to send someone over to gather information?" the teenager asked in return. Chu Hongguang pondered about it and did not respond. It was just as this man had said. With the current situation at Worldwide Entertainment, everyone knew that no matter what, it was impossible for them to reverse their fortunes, so there was no need for Emperor Sky to send spies. "What's your name, young man? What advice do you have, coming all the way to my Worldwide Entertainment?" Chu Hongguang asked plainly. "Your humble servant goes by the name Yi Bai. I can't tell you what my motive is," the teenager said as his smile gradually faded away. "I'm here today just to make a deal with your company. The bargaining chip is proving Han Xianyu's innocence and eradicating all negative influences on Worldwide Entertainment as a result of this incident. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Upon hearing the teenager's so-called bargaining chip, everyone in the meeting room was taken aback, including the main person involved, Han Xianyu. He didn't look as calm as before. Han Xianyu finally raised his head slowly with a mixed expression in his blank and numb eyes as he looked in the direction of the teenager. Zhou Wenbin gave a contemptuous look. What a joke! Who do you think you are? Fei Yang was stunned for a moment before he retorted. Zhou Wenbin, the boss hasn't even said a word, yet you're over here being a pain. Are you scared someone's able to prove Xianyu's innocence? Zhou Wenbin sneered. Fei Yang, I think you've lost your mind. This incident is all because of the pressure from the public. Even Worldwide doesn't have the ability to prove Xianyu's innocence. Yet you think this guy can change the public's view? Who on earth is he? Although what Zhou Wenbin said wasn't nice, Fei Yang knew he was right and kept silent. The teenager was unbothered about Zhou Wenbin. He looked at Chu Hongguang and said very calmly, Chairman Chu, since Worldwide is at its wit's end, why not give it a try? If you win, obviously the outcome would be favorable, but even if you don't, there's nothing to lose. There would be no negative impact on Worldwide, right? Chu Hongguang considered the offer for a moment before finally responding, Mr. Yi, right? I don't care who you are, but if you really can deliver what you mentioned and solve this crisis, then Worldwide would thank you indefinitely. But if you're here to cause trouble, then... Chu Hongguang didn't finish his sentence, but everyone could see the warning and threat in his eyes. The teenager smiled slightly like he didn't notice the intimidation in Chu Hongguang's eyes. Chairman Chu's a straightforward man. You'll find out very soon whether what I said is the truth or not. Oh, how would I find out? Chu Hongguang raised his brows. The teenager laughed. Within 7 days, I can prove Han Xianyu's innocence. 7 days. A hint of suspicion appeared on Chu Hongguang's face. Zhou Wenbin's expression changed and he suddenly stood up, pointing at the teenager. Even if we let you give it a go, you can just tell us directly what great abilities you have. Why do you need to beat around the bush? I think you're just bluffing and putting on a show. When he finished speaking, Zhou Wenbin turned to look at Chu Hongguang and said, Chairman Chu, we really don't know where this person came from. He's so young. Who knows what exactly his intentions are? How can we trust the words of a person like him so easily? Chu Hongguang furrowed his brows. His head was aching badly from all the squabbling around him. While he was still deep in thought, a hoarse voice suddenly interrupted the silence. I trust him. In the meeting room, everyone was startled and immediately turned towards the source of the voice. And they realized that the person who spoke was actually the droopy-eyed and silent Han Xianyu. Han Xianyu lifted his head and his haggard eyes met the glistening eyes of the teenager. He took a deep breath, stood up, and scanned the people around him. His gaze finally stopped at Chu Hongguang. Chairman Chu, I trust him. Everybody had abandoned him, but now, there was one person who stood up and wanted to prove his innocence. Chu Hongguang's expression was somewhat mixed. Han Xianyu hadn't said a word since the start, and this was the first comment he made. Chu Hongguang sighed. All right then, Xianyu, it's not like the company doesn't want to help you. If this friend here really has an idea that works, I'll give him my fullest support. After that, Chu Hongguang turned to the teenager. What do you need us to do? The corners of the teenager's lips curled upwards slyly. Watch a show. When everyone heard how arrogant the teenager was, they started talking amongst themselves with doubt and mockery. Chu Hongguang laughed. You're very confident, young man. Tell me your conditions. The teenager glanced around. Should I discuss my conditions with just Chairman Chu or everyone else too? Understanding the hint behind the teenager's words, Chu Hongguang waved and ended the meeting, forcing everyone out of the room. Before he left, Zhou Wenbin paused in front of the teenager and glared sternly at him. Damn it, this issue was almost finalized, but this guy messed everything up. I have to wait and see what tricks he has up his sleeve. After a while, there was only the teenager and Chu Hongguang left in the meeting room. Please continue. Chu Hongguang lit a cigar. The teenager sat on the leather chair opposite and went straight to the point. Firstly, I would like a job opportunity at Worldwide. Chu Hongguang replied very frankly. That's easy. If you're really able to help Han Xianyu get over this crisis, Worldwide would naturally want a talent like you. What else? The teenager was silent for a second before continuing. Secondly, I would like a property under Chairman Chu's name. Chu Hongguang took a drag on his cigar and raised his brows slightly. A property under my name? Which property are you referring to, my friend? The teenager concealed the darkness in his eyes and replied in a composed manner, Golden Seas. Hearing the teenager demands, Chu Hongguang paused. Young chap, you really know how to pick them. Previously, after Yi Xiaoting went bankrupt, even the old house was auctioned off by the court. In order to deal with this arch-enemy of his, Chu Hongguang bought this particular property as his spoil of war. The teenager smiled. The district is priceless. Any normal person would ask for it too. Chu Hongguang indicated that he understood. Sure, not a problem. Upon getting a positive response from the chairman, the teenager was much more relaxed as he stood up. Then Chairman Chu, I wish us success in our cooperation. That's right. I will wait for your good news then. After they were done chatting, Chairman Chu courteously got someone to walk the teenager out. It was only when Yi Wanwan left the building of Worldwide Entertainment that her tense nerves started to relax. She casually loosened her collar and let out a sigh of relief. Even though there were some twists and turns, she was glad that the deal was on. After all, it was her first time being a man. She was extremely nervous before she went over, but once she was there, she naturally got into character. In her past life, she found out that she was an expert in imitating many different types of people. In this life, after she read many professional books, her imitation skills improved. This innate skill of hers was, without a doubt, extremely advantageous. Yi Wanwan was getting ready to return home when the hoarse voice of a man suddenly came from behind her. Mr. Yi Bai, please wait. Yi Wanwan stopped in her tracks and turned towards the person. Mr. Han. Han Xianyu had always been dazzling and attractive in public, and he was always the confident Han Xianyu in people's eyes. But at this moment, his handsome face was haggard and lethargic. His eye bags were also stained with dark shadows like dark clouds blocking the sun. The second Han Xianyu met the teenager's eyes, he was taken back. Under the gleaming sunshine, the teenager's skin was as fair as snow. His unbuttoned collar revealed his delicate collarbones, and his bright eyes seemed to be the reflection of the stars in the galaxy, forcing him to keep his eyes glued to him. With the teenager's looks, he would stand out even if you put him in a sea of beauties from the showbiz. Compared to his own looks, this teenager wasn't inferior at all. With such a beautiful face, he didn't even have a hint of frivolousness or sissiness. There was an unrestrained severity in his eyes, and the careless arrogance from his eyes showed he was a man of great charm. Han Xianyu stood in front of the teenager, his fists clenched tightly. No matter what your intentions are, or why you're helping me, thank you. Thank you for believing me. The teenager smiled. The intensity in his eyes lessened like a haze was dispersing. Don't mention it. My friend's a fan of yours. She really likes you, and so do I. Even after hearing so many compliments like this, Han Xianyu experienced an inexplicable feeling just like he had when he just made his debut, like the first time he was recognized by his fans on the streets, and his glacial heart slowly melted in their warmth. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. On the way back, Yi Wanwan went past a florist shop. Initially, she wanted to have a meal with Si Han after the negotiation, but when she woke up this morning, Si Han had already left for work, so she wasn't able to ask him. To prevent a volcano from erupting, she must never forget to pacify him on a daily basis. Hello, welcome. In the florist shop, a girl in a green dress greeted her as usual when she heard the bell on the door. She subconsciously turned to look at the customer. All she saw was the slender hand of a young gentleman pushing the glass door open. He was dressed in a white shirt and had short, flaxen hair. There were all sorts of flowers in the shop. It was like a secret garden of Eden. The man stepped slowly into the soft and soothing music, and she could faintly discern his facial features between the clusters of flowers. When he went past a bouquet of red roses, the man paused and picked one up. He lowered his fluttery lashes and took a light sniff. The sunlight filtered in through the windows and danced on his delicate face. Even the beautiful rose in his hand couldn't measure up to half his attractiveness, and faded into the background to bring out his brilliance. "Hello, can you help me wrap up a bouquet of red roses, please?" When the low and hoarse voice of the man reached her, the shop assistant was abruptly woken up from her daydream as she looked into the glazed and inquiring gaze of the man. She felt a hot flash on both her cheeks and she hurriedly replied, "Sure, of course. How many would you like, sir?" Yi Wanwan rubbed the petal lightly and thought for a bit before answering, 99 stalks. Sure, I'll get it wrapped up for you." The little shop assistant quickly got down to work while discreetly taking glances and sizing the man up. "Oh God, this person's too dashing. He's even better looking than the celebrities on television. I wonder who the lucky girl is who's receiving red roses from this handsome young man. Not to mention it's 99 roses." The little shop assistant's desire for gossip was suddenly fired up. "These roses were just flown in this morning. They're very fresh, so they'll last for a few more days. Is this wrapping paper okay with you? Lately, this type of vintage wrapping is on trend. If you like it, I'll wrap it up using this, okay?" "Sure, it looks great," the man nodded. Hearing the man say "looks great," while looking at her, the little shop assistant blushed furiously even though she knew he was referring to the wrapping. After hesitating for a long time, she finally couldn't resist any longer and asked curiously, "Sir, is this for your girlfriend?" The man shook his head. "No, it's not." The little shop assistant was surprised. "Not for your girlfriend?" "It's not for his girlfriend? Then it must be for a girl you fancy, right?" the little shop assistant speculated. She was even more curious as she mumbled, "The girl must be super beautiful since even a handsome man like you has to chase her." When the man heard that, he seemed to suddenly have a thought as the corners of his lips curled upwards. "That's right, she's indeed a beauty." The little shop assistant's eyes lit up instantly. "I was right." The little shop assistant was green with envy as she tried picturing how beautiful the girl looked when the man interrupted her thoughts. "But she's not the girl I fancy." The little shop assistant was slightly stupefied. "Then she is?" "My boyfriend," the man replied. The little shop assistant. "Well, what did I just hear? Boyfriend?" The little shop assistant who was wrapping the bouquet suddenly stood there dumbfounded, as if she just got struck by lightning. After at least 10 seconds had passed, the little shop assistant regained her senses from the shock. "This exceedingly good-looking man in front of me actually swings that way?" The little shop assistant's teenage heart was a little shattered. The little shop assistant stitched her teenage heart back together with great difficulty and realized her reaction was too obvious and hurriedly apologized. "So sorry. I forgot my manners." "It's fine," Yi Wanwan laughed, not taking it to heart. When the little shop assistant saw the smile on his face, her heart palpitated with more eagerness. The heart she just put together shattered once again. Why do all the good-looking men have a boyfriend already? After Yi Wanwan left the florist, she called Sue. "Hello, housekeeper Sue, is ninth master at Jean Garden or in the office?" "Office, he's having a meeting." "Does he have anything on tonight?" "There's nothing scheduled on his itinerary." "Then is it a convenient time for me to go over to see him now?" Yi Wanwan asked. "That. Ms. Yi, please hold on, I'll check with ninth master." Sui was slightly taken aback by Yi Wanwan's words. After all, this was the first time Yi Wanwan took the initiative to ask for ninth master voluntarily. As she hated her relationship with ninth master being known, she never appeared in public with him. Shortly after, Sui returned to the call. "Ms. Yi, you may come over, just let the secretary know your name." "All right, thanks." At the C Corporation. "Hello, may I have your name, please? Do you have an appointment?" People who visited the company were mostly businessmen, so when a fresh and handsome young man appeared before her with a big bouquet of red roses in his hand, the female secretary's eyes couldn't refrain from sparkling. "My surname's Yi. I'm looking for Chairman C. I made an appointment with Mr. Su earlier," Yi Wanwan replied. "So you're Mr. Yi." The little secretary had just been informed of this appointment by Su Yi, so she quickly got up invitingly, but she felt somewhat doubtful in her heart. Didn't Special Assistant Sue say it was a girl? He was probably too busy and made a mistake, huh? But judging by the looks of the man, he didn't seem like he was there to talk business. Rather, he looked like a boyfriend picking up his girlfriend from work. If such a handsome boyfriend waited for me with a bouquet of roses. At that moment, there was a ding, and the elevator door opened. The female secretary retracted her gaze from this man's stunning face and recovered her professionalism before speaking. Mr. Yi, Chairman C is having a meeting now. I'll have to trouble you to wait in the guest room. Yi Wanwan nodded. Sure. Ms. Secretary was about to lead him to the guest room. Alas, the two of them merely walked a couple of steps when they saw a group of people walking out of the meeting room. Heading towards them was their boss, dressed in a full black Western suit with a cold and rigid face. Following behind was senior management. Everyone had a solemn expression. Si Yihan's body was turned sideways, listening to Su Yi's report, but he realized that his own subordinate stopped speaking all of a sudden. The man furrowed his brows and looked at Su Yi. Then he noticed that Su Yi was staring at something ahead with the life drained out of his face. Si Yihan followed Su Yi's gaze, but all he saw was the female secretary standing there, and beside her was. Seeing the young man with a bouquet of red roses in his hands next to the secretary, Si Yihan's pupils constricted instantly. As their boss suddenly stopped in his tracks, the senior management following behind him stopped too and took note of the scene before them at the same time. Under all these stares, the teenager, dressed in a white-collared shirt who looked as clear as the morning dew and was holding a bouquet of red roses in his hand, started walking in their direction one step at a time. The teenager paused right in front of Si Yihan. He had lips that were even more tender and lovelier than the roses. His twinkling eyes were slightly covered by his flax-colored hair, and invited the smiles of everyone present as his melodious voice flowed smoothly. Chairman C, may I have the honor of inviting you for dinner? Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The group of senior management. Little secretary. In the dead silence, there seemed to be the rustling of a cold wind blowing. Did their boss just get hit on by a guy? Su Yi, who was standing right next to Si Yihan, nearly spewed blood out of his mouth when he saw Yi Wanwan dressed as a man. Although he already knew Yi Wanwan was going to disguise herself as a man, he never expected this woman would actually go to this extent. It was still that stunningly beautiful face. Only her makeup, hairstyle and style of dress switched. The feeling she exuded completely changed, but it didn't look out of sorts at all. The female version of Yi Wanwan was beautiful, but she had a weak, repressed and even ethereal kind of beauty, while the male version of Yi Wanwan gave off confidence and sharpness, as if her power poured out in magnificent torrents. Anyway, her gender had nothing to do with her attractiveness. Of course, all this is beside the main point. The main point is that you're here dressed as a man, so in everyone's eyes, you're a man. As a man, how could you hold a bouquet of flowers and say such things to another man? He didn't need to think to find out what these people were thinking about. This woman Yi Wanwan has gone too far this time. Master would never agree to this. He would never agree. He might even lock her back up. As Sui had that thought in his head, he saw that his icy cold master with frost on his face looking at the teenager with indifferent eyes, but then he took the roses from the teenager's hand, expressionless. Sui mother. What did I just see? Master. Are you nuts? When Sui saw his own master accepting those flaming red roses from Yi Wanwan's hands, it felt as if his heart had gone through a tsunami. Suddenly, a loud bang resounded. It came from the head of finance behind him, who just dropped the huge stack of financial reports on the floor. Even that little secretary who brought Yi Wanwan in had her eyes open so wide that her eyeballs were nearly falling out. Master, I didn't know you swing that way. Even the last King Yu of Zhou didn't tease his nobles like that. How? How do you expect me to clean this mess up for you? A certain someone who was almost breaking down racked his brains to think of how to deal with the aftermath for his master. He quickly turned to every shocked person to explain, cough cough, this is a friend of boss. An ethnic Chinese from country M. He grew up overseas, so he's more open and likes to joke around, ha ha ha. Everyone turned to look at each other. Is that so? There's actually a person who dares to joke around like that in front of boss? Yi Wanwan actually had the mind to take a little revenge on Si Han, but didn't expect that he would really accept her flowers in front of everybody. Even she was quite surprised. However, she couldn't deny that the contrasting image of Si Han's glacial face that would never melt in 10,000 years and a bouquet of red roses bright as blood in his hands was indeed quite dazzling. What? Seeing that Yi Wanwan kept staring at him, Si Han shot a questioning gaze over. Yi Wanwan regained her senses from the lovely feast before her, but her eyes didn't leave Si Han's body as she muttered, "Nothing, I got drunk while admiring the beautiful flowers, just lost my senses for a bit." But everyone saw that her eyes were glued on Si Han, and not the flowers. Everybody at the scene. After leaving the company building, Yi Wanwan's wild, ruthless, tyrannical and cool behavior abruptly disappeared like a punctured balloon. "Baby, can we come to an agreement?" Yi Wanwan probed. Si Han's bony fingers lightly brushed against the dewdrops on the red petals of the bouquet in his arms. "Agreement about what?" Yi Wanwan replied meekly. "Agree about whether we could go out another day instead?" As expected, Si Han's expression immediately turned cold. Yi Wanwan quickly explained, "It's not that I want to flake out on you. At first, I was prepared to treat you to a romantic candlelight dinner, but I just remembered that I used the last of my savings on this bouquet." Truly zoingbility leads to liability. Upon hearing that she used the last of her savings to buy that bouquet, Si Han's face warmed up slightly. Yi Wanwan seemed to be deep in thought as her eyes glistened. She continued, "But if you're willing to treat me, then we can go ahead, or if you could just pass me the money directly, that'd be even better." Si Han, "Go home." Yi Wanwan, "Baby, you won't be able to woo any girls with your EQ. At this point, isn't the right action supposed to be throwing his credit card at her and allowing her to spend it any way she wants?" Si Han could probably guess what she was thinking as he glanced sideways at her and replied indifferently, "A man turns evil when he's rich." Yi Wanwan had black lines all over her head. She thought her acting was already top-notch. It seemed like there was someone else whose acting skills were even better than hers. The great devil is indeed the great devil. His taste is unwavering. He still accepts me even when I'm dressed like a man. Nighttime at a certain high-class apartment. This was the dormitory that Worldwide Entertainment arranged for their employees. As the addresses of many of Han Xianyu's properties had been leaked, reporters surrounded every one of them, so he had to move here. At this moment, the lights in the house were all switched off. The huge living room was chilly, and the only sound came from the television. Han Xianyu sat on the sofa in front of the TV. Under the slight glow from the screen, his handsome face looked sickly pale. The TV had entertainment news on, and in the background was his villa where he used to live. The entrance was packed with a raging group of people, with a female reporter reporting at the scene. The court session for the case of Han Xian, you sexually harassing a little girl, will begin in the next few days. As this case is very disturbing, it has received the attention of countless civilians. The father of the victimized girl stated that he would hold a press conference in 2 days' time to provide more details about the case. Where we're at now is Han Xianyu's current residence, but the door has been tightly shut this whole time, and Worldwide Entertainment, including Han Xianyu himself, have not made any positive responses to this incident. We learned from the girl's father that Han Xianyu contacted him privately to bribe him with money, so that he would withdraw his lawsuit and lie to the press. However, the girl's father refused. The fall of an outstanding idol to a pedophile who refuses to admit to his heinous crime. A truth like this is really distressing. The manager, Fei Yang, brought some pills and a cup of water, and looked over at Han Xianyu nervously. He reminded him, "Xianyu, don't watch all this news. Have you forgotten what the doctor told you? You have to stay home and rest now, and don't watch or listen to anything. I'll update you if anything comes up." Ever since the incident happened, Han Xianyu's psychological health had been deteriorating, and Fei Yang couldn't stop worrying about him. After all, This incident not only affected his career and life, but it also had an impact on his mental state. Han Xianyu helped those kids out of kindness, yet he was slandered and framed. He didn't commit any crimes, yet he had lived with that infamy for the rest of his life. This was all while that greedy couple kept gnawing at his flesh and winning the sympathy of all of society. In the future, they would, without a doubt, rely on that exorbitant compensation to live lavishly. If it wasn't for the young man who appeared today, the company would force Xianyu to settle this matter privately. If that really happened, he couldn't predict whether Xianyu would still be able to hang on or not. Seeing that Han Xianyu was silent, Fei Yong comforted him. Don't be so down. Didn't Chairman Chu agree to give that kid a try? Maybe there will really be a turn of events? If that Yi Bai didn't have a solution, I doubt he'd dare to speak so boldly during the meeting. Fei Yong didn't dare to imagine what would happen if Yi Bai failed. Or, what if that person has some ill intentions? Upon hearing the name Yi Bai, Han Xianyu's pupils finally moved a little, and a warm smile emerged in his dim eyes. After a moment of silence, he closed his eyes slowly and shut off the limitless vortex in his eyes. 2 days later, Mr. and Mrs. Zhao gathered all the various publications, and the Crusade Congress, convened as scheduled. They even had a live telecast. They already sued him, yet they're still having a press conference before the court session. I sent this the same as establishing a private court session? Lest Han Xianyu's mood be affected, Fei Yong cut the television and internet cable, and even confiscated Han Xianyu's cell. Just as he was thinking there weren't any loopholes, Han Xianyu's personal phone suddenly rang. The caller ID indicated Yi Bai. Seeing this name, Fei Yong hurriedly answered the call and said cautiously, "Hello, Mr. Yi? Turn on the live telecast." The caller didn't beat around the bush, and went straight to the point. Fei Yong was somewhat taken aback by that request. Right now? Yi Bai? Yes. Fei Yong hesitated for a second before replying. All right, got it. Fei Yong quickly turned on the live telecast on his computer, and knocked on Han Xianyu's bedroom door. Xianyu? Xianyu, are you awake? After he pushed the door open and entered, there was an overpowering stench of alcohol as usual. Han Xianyu was lying on the floor, and next to him was an overturned bottle of wine. He didn't even respond when Fei Yong called him. Seeing him in this state, Fei Yong was both angry and heartbroken, but he knew that if he didn't allow Han Xianyu to vent his anger, he might really go crazy, so Fei Yong didn't stop him. Get up quick, Mr. Yi just called. He wants us to watch the press conference. At the same time in Imperial City's Grand Hotel, the hotel's biggest multifunctional conference hall was packed with hundreds of reporters from various media outlets, and the girl's father, Zhao Deyong, and her mother, Li Qiaohong, were both seated on stage. Zhao Deyong had a slightly plump figure, very short hair, and was wearing an old black suit which didn't fit him very well. He said in a grave tone, "We would like to express our gratitude to the media for lending a hand to our family. Han Xianyu's a superstar. He's rich and powerful, so it's not easy for ordinary people like us to get justice. Thankfully, there are still many kind souls around to provide me and my wife with an outlet to speak up. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what to do." Li Qiaohong, who was seated next to him, had slightly greasy hair and wore an old gray dress. She looked very distressed and kept lowering her head to wipe her tears. "I really didn't expect that Han Xianyu was that kind of person. I actually personally delivered my daughter into the hands of that bastard." Both of them were just ordinary people at the lowest rung of society. They lived poorly, led tough lives, yet this happened to them. When they first appeared in the media, many expressed sympathy for what they went through, and naturally, many more people cursed Han Xianyu. In the apartment, Fei Yong watched as the couple shamelessly pretended to be pitiful. He was on the verge of exploding in anger. He couldn't imagine how Han Xianyu felt from watching this scene. "Xianyu, are you all right?" Fei Yong asked worriedly. Han Xianyu stared at the couple on the screen in silence. Then a flicker of recognition came over him as his expression changed. "It's him." "Who?" Fei Yong didn't understand, and he looked towards Han Xianyu's line of sight. Then he saw a familiar figure in the press conference. The man seated next to the reporter from Mars Weekly looked like Yi Bai. He's there too? What is this Yi Bai planning to do? Under such circumstances with such a strong public opinion, it was near impossible to turn the situation around. If he wanted to prove Han Xianyu's innocence at such an occasion, it would only worsen Han Xianyu's case. Fei Yong furrowed his brows and felt completely uneasy. On the live telecast, the first person to speak was the lanky reporter from Southeast Daily whom Han Xianyu had beaten up, Yin Zhengyang. The majority of breaking news from this incident was reported by the Southeast Daily. Also, they were responsible for initiating and organizing this press conference. Riding on the popularity of this story, Southeast Daily received instant fame and fortune in the industry, and was lauded for practicing media ethics. Before the reporters could ask any questions, Yen Zhengyang gave an overview of the sequence of events using a slideshow. I believe most of you have seen this photo of Han Xianyu in the bedroom with many little girls, and have seen him even lying in bed with them. And it was because of this photo that I got beaten up by Han Xianyu when I went up to him for an interview. When a celebrity acts like that, I have reasons to suspect that aside from psychological issues, he must have a violent nature as well. Exactly. How could he just beat a person up? Must have hit him at his weak spot, huh? It's hard to imagine what kind of treatment the children get at his place. Yen Zhengyang's words had the support of those watching the live telecast, especially the media. They abhorred acts of violence against reporters. Yen Zhengyang continued. After this incident has gone public, the dirty deeds behind Han Xianyu's charitable acts slowly surfaced, ranging from the recorded allegations from the victim herself to the nude photos, and the story leaked by the ex-employee who worked at his villa, not to mention his ex-girlfriend who revealed his secret addiction. With all this evidence, Han Xianyu's fans are still making a futile attempt to wash his name clean, still trying in vain to find a loophole in the law. It's sickening. Yen Zhengyang ended his righteous speech, took the microphone and pointed it towards the girl's father and said, "Mr. Zhao, Mrs. Zhao, I understand how the both of you are feeling right now, and I really don't want you to recall those painful memories. But in order to let the criminal get the punishment he deserves and for justice to be served, I hope you can give us a detailed account of the incident and let the truth be known to the public." Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Alright. Zhao Deyong took a deep breath and began to talk about the chronological sequence of events. He mentioned how he noticed that his daughter was acting strange when he arrived home one day, and how he found out his daughter had been sexually assaulted by Han Xianyu for a long time after having a heart-to-heart talk with her. After speaking, Zhao Deyong played the recording of the conversation he had with his daughter. "He touched me. Where did he touch?" "He touched my chest." And Li Qiaohong started pounding her chest and crying out loudly halfway through the recording. "My daughter. My poor girl. My only baby daughter. How is she going to continue living? Her whole life is destroyed by the hands of that bastard." Zhao Deyong clenched his fists. "It's my fault. As her father, I didn't perform my duty as a father. I'm so useless. I can't even protect her and even made her go through such a horrible thing. That man is the scum of society. He won't even let a child off. He's an inhumane bastard. It's not enough to even sentence him to death." The raging expression of the father, the sorrowful cries from the mother, and the unbearable recording instantly propelled the angry emotions in the room to the max. The comments from the people watching the live telecast also flooded through. Is Han Xianyu even human? He won't even let a child off. I already knew the entertainment industry is messy, but I didn't expect it to be this messy. Han Xianyu's 10,000 times more nauseating than people who secretly live off a rich man or cheaters who sleep around. He's more than just nauseating. Those people are probably just immoral, but he's inhumane. He hadn't even offered an apology to date. He's too cold-blooded. Pervert. Scum. I can't believe I actually idolized a person like him before. He should be castrated. His entire family should die. Curse his daughter. I hope she'll be XX by someone as well next time. Fei Yong read those malicious comments and his expression turned ugly. "Xianyu, why don't we turn it off?" Fei Yang's voice trailed off while he paid attention to something at the corner of the screen. He saw a man in a white-collared top supporting his head with his hand and looking at the enraged crowd before him with an indifferent expression. He didn't seem to have any intention of doing anything. Just when he was worried that Xianyu couldn't take it any longer and was about to turn the live telecast off, the teenager suddenly turned his head and said something to the reporter from Mars Weekly. The reporter listened attentively with his body tilted and then his eyes glistened as he nodded. After that, the Mars Weekly reporter, Gao Feng, suddenly stood up and exclaimed, "We have the testimony from the witness and irrefutable proof presented. Yet Han Xianyu still refuses to plead guilty. He's insane. It's because of people like him that the entertainment industry is so messy." Mars Weekly was known to be swift in getting news out. They published many explosive tabloids and was very famous in the industry. But in recent years, they were getting from bad to worse. They even copied the news that other publications had published regarding Han Xianyu's case. On stage, Yan Zhengyang saw Gao Feng stand up to speak and a hint of disdain flashed in his eyes. What #1 correspondent in China? He's just a paparazzi who's past his prime. It's my home ground turf. Yet he's still trying to steal the limelight? Gao Feng first roared indignantly, then turned to Zhao Deyong on stage and spoke with humility. "Mr. Zhao, I'm Gao Feng from Mars Weekly. I'm very sorry for what you've been through. May I ask you a few questions?" Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Seeing that Gao Feng was condemning Han Xianyu just like the other reporters, a hint of contentment flashed in Zhao Deyong's eyes as he spoke in deep pain. "Mr. Reporter, please go ahead." Gao Feng nodded. "Thank you. Before I pose my question, I would like Mr. Zhao and all the reporters seated here today to watch a clip." After speaking, Gao Feng walked to the projector by the side and got the staff to insert the thumb drive he had with him. When Zhao Deyong and the audience heard that, they instinctively turned towards the enormous screen in the multifunction hall. An upbeat song started playing first, then a little girl around the age of 5 appeared on the screen. The little girl was dressed in a black leather crop top and miniskirt. She was imitating the dance moves of a very popular superstar from Country H. The dance moves were very mature, but the little Lolita gave a completely different feel to them. It was mo and cute. Her moves were exactly in sync with the superstar. After the clip played, Gao Feng turned to Zhao Deyong and asked, "Mr. Zhao, after watching this clip, what do you think about it?" Zhao Deyong wasn't sure why Gao Feng suddenly showed them this clip of the little girl dancing. So he replied truthfully, "Very cute." "What about the reporters? What do all of you think?" Gao Feng looked towards the reporters and asked again. The reporters who watched the clip found it unbearably mo and talked about it amongst themselves. "Oh God, that's too mo and cute. She replicates those dance moves so well. Dancing like that at such a young age. She's very talented." I've seen this clip before. The clip of this little girl dancing went viral a few years back. She's amazing. This girl should be around 10 years old by now. The audience watching the live telecast also expressed that they were mesmerized by the cuteness of the little Lolita in the clip. While everyone talked about the video, they also looked at Gao Feng suspiciously, unsure of his intention behind playing that clip during the press conference. After knowing what the audience thought about the video, he nodded and pressed a button on the projector. "All right, then can I get everyone to look at these screenshots?" In the next second, a few screenshots from Weibo appeared on the screen. The date on the screenshots indicated they were from 7 years ago. A very popular blogger reposted the clip of this little girl dancing, and the blogger's reaction was just like that of the reporters. All the comments below the post talked about how cute the little girl was. However, when they reached the final slide of the screenshots, a nasty comment appeared. "So flirty, I really want to fuck her. How much for a night?" When this comment was presented on the big screen, there was a second of dead silence in the audience, and then a major uproar exploded. Damn. Who's this person? A pervert? How could he say something like that about a 5-year-old child? Even if it's online, he shouldn't speak so recklessly, right? That's too gross. This pervert is probably a pedophile too. right? In the screenshots, Gao Feng censored all the Weibo IDs that appeared on the screenshots. This ID included. Everyone scolded the person up to this point, and gradually, some people started to speculate about the identity of the pervert. Damn. The perverted netizen in this screenshot isn't Han Xianyu, is it? It must be him. This dummy account was dug out by Mars Weekly, right? I just said that Mars Weekly doesn't seem to be doing well these last few years, but it seems they still have some potential. This is the first time someone dug out Han Xianyu's dummy account. When the reporters saw this new information they could work with, they started getting excited. At the same time, in the apartment, Fei Yang, who was monitoring the live telecast, was waiting for a turn of events, but instead, what he saw was the situation becoming dramatically worse. He was on the verge of going crazy. What dog shit dummy account? Are these reporters nuts? What's going on? Isn't this reporter from Mars Weekly the person Yi Bai had an arrangement with? Han Xianyu leaned against the bedside and stared at the screen. He still had that haggard and stoned expression, and on his face, there was numbness and emptiness. At that moment, the live telecast website was also flooded with comments. Wow, this is explosive. Han Xianyu's dummy account is exposed. He must have other accounts aside from this. He's really disgusting. That little girl in the clip should be around 5 to 6 years old, almost the same age as the sick girl he sexually assaulted. Huh. The more you think about it, the scarier it gets. After getting the reaction he wanted, Gao Feng said in a grave tone, "Everyone has seen that when a normal person watches the video, they would find that the little girl is really adorable. Only a pedophile would have such dirty and malicious thoughts." Zhao Deyong saw this reporter bringing out another piece of evidence, and his eyes lit up. He immediately chimed in, "That's right. Also, the date on Weibo indicated this was 7 years ago. Han Xianyu has been in hiding for so long that we don't even know how many innocent children he's harmed." In the press conference, the man in a white-collared top skimmed through the comments on his phone and listened to the words of the media and Zhao Deyong. His lips subtly curled upwards. The prey has entered the trap. On stage, Gao Feng looked towards the audience unmovingly, and his gaze swept across the entire hall, stopping at Zhao Deyong, who had a look of surprise. He raised his brows slightly and asked, "Mr. Zhao, you think so too? You think this netizen is a pedophile?" Zhao Deyong didn't hesitate and replied, "Of course, if he's not a pedophile, what is he?" Others started murmuring amongst themselves as well. Do you still need to ask? If he isn't considered a pedophile, then what is a pedophile? Han Xianyu's name has been blackened forever. He won't be able to wash it clean forever, yeah? Gao Feng laughed and didn't respond, but he pressed a button on the projector. Then everybody please take a look at who wrote this disgusting comment. Upon hearing what Gao Feng said, everybody held their breath and bolted upright in their seats. There must be many juicy contents made by Han Xianyu's dummy account, huh? On the big screen, the image was cropped and it was still the same screenshot, but this time, the mosaic sensor on the Weibo ID was gone, and the netizen's ID appeared before everyone's eyes as clear as day. Lonely cigarette. So flirty, I really want to fuck her. How much for a night? And Lonely Cigarette was actually the father of the victim who was sexually assaulted, Zhao Deyong. After all the reporters saw that extremely familiar ID, the entire hall fell into a terrible, dead silence. The hiddle smile Zhao Deyong had initially suddenly stiffened. There were disbelief and rage on his face at first, and then he seemed to remember something as a look of panic and fear swept across his face. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. After a very long silence, there was an upheaval in the hall. Wah damn. How could it be? This isn't Han Xianyu's Weibo account but Zhao Deyong's? Is it real? Is this picture photoshopped? How could Mr. Zhao say something like that? This is impossible. It must be fake. The calm and unperturbed Yin Zhengyang's face abruptly changed at this point. He quickly stood up and yelled in fury, "Gao Feng! Are you insane? You once held the title of being the #1 correspondent in China, yet you're neglecting your professional ethics and coming up with this fake news just because you can't get anything juicy. You're making a pig of yourself. Gao Feng looked coldly at Yan Zhengyang. Reporter Yan, we're in the same profession. Don't you find what you just said really hilarious? What's the occasion today? There are so many reporter friends seated here today. Why would I lie about something that can be easily exposed? TSK, since this Weibo post was from 7 years ago, even Zhao Deyong himself probably forgot he said something so degrading, so he didn't destroy the evidence, huh? I've already shared the original Weibo post. Everyone can now see it for themselves. It's the third comment on page 7. Listening to what Yan Zhengyang said, the audience broke into discussion again. This news is coming from Mars Weekly. Although Mars Weekly isn't doing very well now, they never leaked any false information before. That's why they offended so many celebrities and almost collapsed from all the attacks. Even a small publication would never dare to use a fake picture to mislead everyone in front of so many reporters. Damn. I found it. It's true. It was really posted by Zhao Deyong. Hurry, go take a look. All the reporters present, including those watching the live telecast, quickly opened the Weibo post that Gao Feng shared a few seconds ago and really saw Zhao Deyong's comment on page 7. At the same time, Gao Feng connected the projector to his phone using Bluetooth and displayed Zhao Deyong's comment on the big screen, and how he argued with other netizens. So flirty, I really want to fuck her. How much a night? To the netizen above, you're a pervert, huh? How could you say such a thing? Hee, what did I do? This little shit is dressed like that and dancing so erotically. Don't you think she's trying to get people to fuck her? Go fuck your father, bastard. I want to fuck your display picture. Is she your daughter? She looks like she would like to be fucked. I'll fuck your mother. Damn it. Where do you live, bastard? Post your address here if you have the guts. IXXXX. Gao Feng casually looked at the awfully pale Zhao Deyong on stage. What do you think? Mr. Zhao, have you managed to recall all these comments you made? Zhao Deyong held his phone with trembling fingers, cold sweat trickling down his forehead. He anxiously tapped on his phone. Gao Feng sneered. You're trying to delete your Weibo now? I'm afraid it's too late. Zhao Deyong stopped what he was doing and knew it was probably useless. There was fear on his face, but then he held his composure and stood up to speak. This happened so many years ago. I didn't mean what I said back then. It can't prove anything. Gao Feng seemed to have anticipated his reply, so he said, Mr. Zhao, that wasn't what you said just now, was it? Everyone here heard you admit that a person who could say something like that must be a pedophile. Now you're saying it can't prove anything? Aren't you slapping your own mouth? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. After speaking, Gao Feng discreetly took a glimpse at a certain corner of the room, and continued to put up 5 to 6 photos. All of them were different comments posted by Zhao Deyong using different usernames, and they were all unbearable to read. There were some from 3 to 5 years ago, a couple from 1 year ago, and one which was very recent. The most recent one was him requesting to have sex with a young girl on a certain website. This account was verified and was, without a doubt, Zhao Deyong's. Each time a new photo flashed onto the big screen, Zhao Deyong's expression turned a shade paler. At the last photo, he was frozen stiff in his chair. How could it be? How exactly did this person manage to do this? He actually dug out all those posts from so many years back, even those I don't have any recollection of. He wasn't a perverted pedophile at heart. Those comments and the request he made to that young girl were just his way of thrill-seeking. But after these messages were exposed, there was nothing he could say to clear his name. As expected, after looking at all this evidence, all the reporters at the scene were completely dumbfounded, and the audience at the live telecast exploded into chatter. Oh my God! What did I just see? Zhao Deyong's a pedophile too? And look at all this stuff he said online. It's disgusting. How was he even able to criticize Han Xianyu with so much self-righteousness? This is simply unbelievable. At this moment, Yin Zhengyang was at a complete loss. He never expected that Zhao Diyong would have evidence that could be used against him. No way. I can't let things go on this way. Even if Zhao Diyong's a pedophile, Han Xianyu's charges are still undeniable. I have to draw the public's attention back to the real issue at hand. Yin Zhengyang immediately stood up, took the microphone and was about to speak. Everyone. However, just at that moment, Gao Feng immediately interrupted Yin Zhengyang and exclaimed in anger. Just as everyone has seen, it's true. Zhao Diyong's a pedophile through and through. He's the scum of the society, as he said himself. An inhumane bastard, a pervert that should be shot in the head. Yin Zhengyang. Let's not talk about whether Zhao Diyong's a pedophile first. Han Xianyu he. Gao Feng's rage seemed to have reached its limit. He slammed the table and interrupted Yin Zhengyang once again. With a frightening glare, he said, also, according to what I investigated, there's more to this than meets the eye. Zhao Diyong. This inhumane bastard. He's not only a perverted pedophile. He won't even let his own daughter off. Following Gao Feng's fuming howl that reverberated across the entire hall, the stunned audience sat there in utter disbelief. Even Yin Zhengyang had forgotten what he wanted to say, and was flabbergasted. What? Zhao Diyong didn't even let his own daughter off. Oh my God. On the live telecast website, after the pause, there was a crazy barrage of comments that covered the entire screen. Nobody cared about what Yin Zhengyang had to say. Everyone's attention was now on the shocking truth Gao Feng disclosed. After the initially calm and composed Zhao Diyong heard that, he was stupefied and suddenly started yelling as he stood up. You damn mother venomous slanderer. I would fuck your father. Are you crazy? That's my own daughter. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yin Zhengyang, who was interrupted countless times, was made totally speechless by the explosive news Gao Feng revealed. After a few seconds, he quickly regained his senses and shouted in Gao Feng's direction. Great reporter Gao, we must show the evidence for whatever we say. With just your words, you're putting such a big accusation on someone. You have total disregard for his life. You're not a reporter, but an executioner. Zhao Diyong also remembered this was a press conference. He calmed himself down and said, this reporter here, do you have any evidence? How could you slander someone like that? Gao Feng seemed prepared for their questions and he mumbled. TSK, you want evidence? Zhao Diyong. I guess you won't cry until you see the grave? After Gao Feng had spoken, a photo appeared on the huge screen. In the photo, there was a little girl and at her young age, her figure could barely be seen. She only had some panties and a little tank top on, looking like she just came out of the shower. She seemed very nervous in front of the camera. The person in the photo was Mr. and Mrs. Zhao's daughter. And that photo was circulated by Zhao Diyong himself to his circle of friends. He even added a caption along with it. What do you think about my daughter? And included a smirk emoticon. When this photo appeared, all the reporters at the scene felt so bad for the child. Oh gosh. He's really a monster. He didn't even let his own daughter off. How could he do that? Girls at that age already have extreme self-consciousness, okay? As her father, he actually circulated such a revealing photo of his own daughter to his friends. Utterly disgusting. How can a person like him be fit to be a father? When Zhao Diyong saw that everyone presumed this photo to be the evidence that he sexually abused his own daughter, his face turned red in anger and immediately burst out. This was just a normal day with my daughter. Gao Feng sneered. Tisk, you're calling this revealing photo normal? You're still trying to deny it even with all this evidence in your face, huh? No problem. It's fine if you don't admit it. I have a witness. Today, I must thoroughly expose this bastard's true colors. Following Gao Feng's powerful and resonating rebuke, the press at the scene was ready with their equipment and waited for Gao Feng's next piece of evidence. Unknowingly, everyone was subconsciously following Gao Feng's line of thought. The day before yesterday, I interviewed Zhao Diyong's neighbor, and after getting permission from him, I recorded this interview. Gao Feng played a recording of the interview. In the video recording, Gao Feng was interviewing a man, and in order to protect the person's identity, the man's face was hidden in the shadows on purpose. Upon hearing that Gao Feng had interviewed his neighbor and seeing that familiar figure on screen, Zhao Deyong's face changed. But at this point, the interview already started. Gao Feng. Based on your impression, what kind of person is Zhao Deyong? Neighbor. He's always idling and doesn't do honest work. Gao Feng. Then, does he have any bad habits? Neighbor. Does gambling count? Gao Feng. Gambling? Is he really good at it? Neighbor. I heard he even gambled away the money that was supposed to be used for his daughter's medical bills. If it wasn't for that superstar's help, his daughter wouldn't be alive today. He's too lucky. Gao Feng. What do you think about that incident about that superstar allegedly sexually assaulting your neighbor's daughter? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Neighbor. Haha, the superstar sexually assaulting my neighbor's daughter? He's really trying to push the blame onto someone else. Not sure who's the one doing all these filthy deeds. Gao Feng, what do you mean? Neighbor. Why are you city people so innocent? It means that he's playing with his own daughter. Gao Feng. Your neighbor himself? Why would you say that? That's his own daughter. How could he do something like that? Do you have any proof? Neighbor. Proof? I'm living right next to him. How could I be unaware of anything that happens around here? The noises from his house every night. TSK. I'm not the only one who heard them. If you don't believe me, you can go around and ask the whole neighborhood. Gao Feng. What about the little girl's mother, doesn't she care? Neighbor. His wife works the night shift, so there's only him and his daughter at home every night. But even when she's at home, she probably wouldn't care. Both husband and wife are black-hearted scum. Very soon, the 10-minute-long interview ended. There were still some interviews with other neighbors, and everyone said they often heard the cries of the little girl, along with Zhao Deyong's obscenities and curses. This interview revealed all the details. It was truly heart-wrenching. Nobody expected that this father, who blatantly said he wouldn't submit to force and would protect his daughter at all costs, was actually a filthy and despicable pedophile. He was so sick in the mind that he would do it to his own daughter. Zhao Deyong. What else do you have to say for yourself? Gao Feng asked in a stern tone. Hearing his neighbors calling him out and facing the interrogation from Gao Feng, and all the disgusted gazes from the media around him, Zhao Deyong looked as if he was going insane. What evidence? You call this evidence? Zhao Chongbin, that dog has a grudge against me. That guy is deliberately trying to frame me. Mr. Zhao, there's no smoke without a fire. Furthermore, there's more than one neighbor who called you out. That's because my daughter was being disobedient. I was teaching her a lesson. As the saying goes, spare the rod, spoil the child. It's perfectly fine for parents to reprimand and punish their child when they misbehave. Oh, so your teaching method is to impose bodily harm and sexually abuse her, is it? Gao Feng pressed him hard. Zhao Deyong's face was completely red from fury, and he breathed heavily like a wild beast. Fuck. I already said that I didn't. I'm not a pedophile, nor did I sexually abuse my own daughter. Gao Feng's gaze became even colder, and he spoke with even more intensity. Haha, there's witnesses and evidence presented right in front of you, and you're still trying to deny it without feeling the slightest remorse for your actions. You're utterly devoid of a conscience. Touching her private parts, forcing her to give oral sex. They're actually the things you made your daughter do, right? Fuck your father, you garbage reporter. Have you said enough? Finally, Zhao Deyong couldn't hold it in anymore as he kicked the chair behind him and charged towards Gao Feng, delivering a punch to his face. Gao Feng was solidly punched in the face. Half his face immediately swelled up. Zhao Deyong wanted to continue beating him up when a few other reporters and security guards swiftly rushed over and quickly pulled the agitated Zhao Deyong away. Gao Feng wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and spoke bitterly. Does everyone believe me now? He's not just a pervert. He also has a violent temper, So you can imagine what kind of treatment his daughter had to endure under his hands. Upon hearing that, Zhao Diyong's face contorted in rage as he yelled crazily while trying to charge towards Gao Feng. I will kill you. I will kill you. Just you wait. You wait. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Faced with all the evidence presented, Zhao Diyong was not only unremorseful for his actions, he even beat up a reporter at the scene, making everyone's anger skyrocket. The number of clicks and traffic on the live telecast also broke the record as comments flooded the telecast, one after another. Wow, my 3 views have totally toppled. This scumbag has been lying to us for such a long time. How perverted is he that he's able to do this to his own daughter? He actually called Han Xianyu scum when he's the true bastard who's worse than a pig. Monster. After all the cursing, the netizens naturally started thinking from another perspective. Can we believe anything this utterly heartless and inhumane bastard says? Oh my god. Could it be that Han Xianyu was really framed? It's definitely possible. Damn. Our Xianyu was obviously framed from the start, alright? Just because they're weak and poor. All of you stood on their side without figuring out the truth first and refused to give others a chance to speak whenever we said something. You guys said we had brain damage. Now you know who the shameless ones are, huh? Those who are poor must have a reason to sink to such lows. Han Xianyu helped their family, yet they turned around and framed Xianyu like that. If that reporter didn't expose Zhao Diyong's true colors, Xianyu would have carried this shame for the rest of his life. Our little feather waited for this day. Waited for the truth to come to light. Xianyu's innocent. I knew Han Xianyu would never do something like that. Late at night in a certain high-class apartment, Fei Yang watched as Gao Feng slowly exposed the true colors of Zhao Diyong. He saw that the media and audience on the live telecast all scolded Zhao Diyong, and many of them started doubting Zhao Diyong's words. The grievances Han Xianyu bore instantly reversed due to this situation. It was totally unexpected. Fei Yang was so stirred up that he almost hugged his laptop and cried. Xianyu, are you seeing this? Public opinion is starting to shift. It's really starting to shift. That Mr. Yi is really something, huh? Our worldwide sent people to monitor that bastard, Zhao Diyong. Yet they could only dig out useless information about him gambling, drinking and abusing his wife and child. How exactly did Yi Bai find out Zhao Diyong's a pedophile? Han Xianyu stared at the screen and watched as the angry comments came one after another, cursing Zhao Diyong. He slowly leaned against the backrest of his chair and closed his eyes, not saying a single word. Fei Yang still scolded the pervert in agitation. This bastard, Zhao Diyong. I thought he was just greedy and ungrateful. Who knew he's far more disgusting than that? He's the true pedophile. What's worse is this scumbag didn't even let his own daughter off. Hearing his manager swearing nonstop, Han Xianyu slowly opened his eyes and glanced at him. Yang Ji, you really think Zhao Diyong's a pedophile? Suddenly hearing Han Xianyu posing this question to him, Fei Yang was confused. Isn't he? With all this evidence, how could it not be true? Han Xianyu replied coldly, on the surface, there's indeed a lot of evidence, but if you looked at all of them separately and judged them from the perspective of the law, do you still think the evidence is tenable? Fei Yang calmed down and carefully thought through Han Xianyu's reasoning. Now that you mention it, it seems true. When you look at all the evidence separately, there really isn't anything substantial. For example, that comment Zhao Diyong posted under that video clip, it's not strange for someone as uncultured as him to say something like that. Even if you gather all the evidence from his social media accounts together, you can only prove that he has a tendency towards pedophilia and poor character. If you looked only at the picture of his daughter that he sent, it could be considered as simply showing off his daughter. Just like that photo of you lying in bed with those kids, it's a very normal photo if you looked at it alone. As for the statements from the witnesses, it's quite possible that those people held a grudge against him. All they can prove is that he's abusive when he's drunk. Zhao Diyong's neighbors were just like your ex-girlfriend. Their words seemed very believable to the public. With that said, Fei Yong suddenly realized something as he sat there in a daze. Could it be that Zhao Diyong's not a? Han Xianyu spoke softly. It doesn't matter whether he is or not. Hearing Han Xianyu's words, Fei Yang's heart sunk. You're right, it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is whether he's guilty in the eyes of the public. Fei Yong stared closely at the live telecast of the media leaving the hall, and tried to make sense of the entire situation. Yi Bai purposely found someone outside Worldwide Entertainment to expose this man, because if someone from Worldwide tried to intervene, nobody would believe that person no matter what he said, due to bias. Worldwide did accuse Zhao Diyong of drinking, gambling and beating his wife and daughter before, but everyone thought Worldwide was just trying to smear Zhao Diyong's name in order to prove your innocence. So instead, Yi Bai worked with Mars Weekly, which was already well established in the industry. He arranged for Gao Feng not to reveal that the comment was posted by Zhao Diyong at first, and allowed everyone to speculate and misunderstand before revealing the truth, dropping the bomb on everyone. After destroying Zhao Diyong's fatherly image and exposing his character, everything Gao Feng said afterwards would be more believable to the media. Following that, everything from the photo of his daughter to all those so-called pieces of evidence, and finally agitating Zhao Diyong to the point where he beat up a reporter. These were exactly the same things the media did to you. This Yi Bai, he's totally just. Han Xianyu sighed deeply and completed Fei Yang's sentence, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Yi Bai choreographed this entire thing, and was simply copying how Zhao Diyong used the media against Han Xianyu, returning everything Han Xianyu went through back to Zhao Diyong. Not only that, Yi Bai's plan was flawless. Even Fei Yong, who worked in the entertainment industry for a long time, couldn't tell, much less those reporters and civilians present today. Since Han Xianyu himself had gone through all this before, he was able to see through Yi Bai's plan. Han Xianyu stared at the retreating figure in the live telecast, and an inexplicable feeling bubbled in his chest. He really didn't expect that. Not only did that man pull it off, he even chose to use this method to prove his innocence. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. As Zhao Diyong was emotionally unstable, the press conference was forced to end there. The entrance of Imperial City Grand Hotel was swarmed with reporters, and Mr. and Mrs. Zhao had trouble even taking a single step forward. Mr. Zhao, as for the incident of you sexually assaulting your own daughter, do you have anything to say? Mrs. Zhao, did you know about it? Aside from your daughter, did you do it to any other children? The blinding lights all around them with crazy reporters asking all kinds of accusatory questions, along with a pushing crowd made Zhao Diyong quite dizzy. He knocked over quite a number of cameras. Li Qiaohong just kept saying that she didn't know anything, and that she had no idea. Hearing all these ridiculous questions, Zhao Diyong was so mad that his lungs were on the verge of exploding. Nonsense. Slander. It's just slander. That reporter was slandering me. I'm not a pedophile, and would never do such things to my own daughter. Are all of you reporters insane? How could you believe such things? Then how do you explain those comments you posted online? Aren't you the one who said such disgusting things to a 5-year-old child, and even threatened to violate a netizen's daughter? I spoke without thinking. I didn't actually do it. What about the statements from your neighbors? How do you explain them? That guy has a grudge against me and was trying to frame me. I've already explained it over 100 times. How many times do you want me to explain it? It's possible you could have a grudge with one neighbor, but what about all the other neighbors? There's irrefutable evidence here, and you're still trying to deny it? Fuck. Nothing to say, huh? You kept saying that Han Xianyu sexually abused your daughter under the guise of his charitable acts, but truth is, you're the one trying to sell your daughter to him, right? I'll sell your father. Then are you framing Han Xianyu for the sake of money? The media was frantically questioning Zhao Diyong when they were suddenly distracted by something else. They quickly scrambled off in another direction. It was Gao Feng coming out of the hotel. Reporter Gao, did you doubt Zhao Diyong from the beginning? I was just making a logical conjecture from the information presented to me. Then Reporter Gao, May I know what's your opinion on the drastic turn of events? Gao Feng glanced at Yan Zhengyang, whose face was very ugly at this moment, and replied leisurely, "Look beneath the surface and reveal the truth to the public. I was just doing what I had to. I believe the truth will always prevail." Upon hearing Gao Feng's mockery, Yan Zhengyang nearly spit out blood in his rage. All this time, he had been trying to redress an injustice done to Zhao Deyong and was supposed to be the righteous hero. But after what Gao Feng did, his reputation was gone and he became the accomplice harboring that bastard, Zhao Deyong. Yan Zhengyang watched as everything unfolded and tried to find a chance to interrupt, wanting to explain and reverse the situation, to rebuke the absurd and untenable evidence Gao Feng had given. However, not a single person cared about him. Everyone's attention was on the extremely explosive news of a father who sexually assaulted his own daughter. After all, compared to the old news of Han Xianyu sexually assaulting this little girl, the shocking turn of events that the girl's father, who planned to sue Han Xianyu, was actually a pedophile was much more attractive. The media knew very well which news would attract the most attention. He just couldn't understand how things turned this messy when he literally had everything under control before. All this happened through this Mars Weekly, a media outlet about to close down? Or, is there someone orchestrating all this behind the scenes? Just exactly who's so powerful that he designed a strategy like this? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.